How's everybody doing tonight? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, discussion number 46 tonight. I'm speaking with a legend in the punk hardcore scene tonight. I'm speaking with Chris Colohan. Just super stoked to talk to him. I can't wait. He's been in some epic bands like Left for Dead, Cursed, The Swarm, Burning Love, Sect, Mature Situations, Countdown to Oblivion. I mean, the guy has done everything. Everything he puts out is amazing, and I can't wait to talk to him, sit down, chat to him for a little while. Ruination, sorry. Yeah, there's so many bands. I mean, he's like I said, he's a legend, and I can't wait to talk to him. So he should be joining me in a couple minutes. Hope everybody's good on this long weekend. I don't really give a shit about Memorial Day, but it is what it is. Raining like cats and dogs in New England. So hopefully some of you guys see some sun. But he should be jumping on any second now. Like I said, super stoked to talk to him. If my mic fucks up, I know it's been fucking up the last couple times. Please let me know. I got a new iPhone 12 and I feel like it runs worse than my iPhone 8. So if I break up or anything like that, please let me know. Chris, I'm joining you right now, buddy.
You do it?
Yep, it's good.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, cool. I'm going to turn you up a little bit. There we go.
Let me know if I break up because I got a new iPhone 12 a couple weeks ago, and it seems like it works worse than my old iPhone. So
Oh, shit. Okay. I got my my wife's second last iPhone. That's kind of how I roll. I still don't have like a phone on purpose phone, and I just get her like her old ones and use them as apps and cameras and iPods. But yeah, they're always a little bit behind, and sometimes it gets screwy. So 12 is nothing to apologize for. I had a 3 till not long ago.
yeah, I was rocking 8 for a while. So
Yeah, I think this is maybe a 7 or something, but it seems crazy new school to me.
well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to talk to me today. I know Sundays are kind of family time for a lot of people, and I really appreciate you just taking the time out to chat with like a middle-aged hardcore guy like myself, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in the same boat, man. No, thank you. Yeah, this year has been a little weird. We have nothing but time lately. So Sunday, I don't know what day. The days of the week don't mean as much as they used to.
Yeah, that's
either
true.
way.
I mean, because of COVID, this is how I started this. This is my 40s. Well, I talked to Ron the other day, so this is technically my 47th, but we call it 46. And I did it due to COVID. I mean, I was bored. I was in the house all the time, and I'm such a good fan of hardcore and punk. And I've been going to shows since my first show was in 1983 when I was really, really young. And then I started going like all the time in 87. So 87 on is basically.
God damn. I'm going to be picking your brain here. What was the first shit you saw in 83?
The first show I saw was SSD, DYS, and The Angry Samoans at the Channel in Boston.
That's insane. I was jokingly going to ask you if you saw Deep Wound or something, but that basically is even better than that. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My cousin's friend brought me. I was only 11 at the time, and he had his license already. And somehow my mom didn't care, and so I went there and scared the living shit out of me. So that's why it took
as it should first time.
4 or 5 year gap before I started like really going to shows again.
Yeah, and then you get the late 80s by the time all those bands are in the unspeakable phases, right?
Yeah. But then that's I got to see like in 87, 88, 89, I got to see Youth of Today. And,
oh, fuck, yeah.
And I mean, it all when they first came out and Judge and stuff like that. So
nice. I came in around like the tail end of that era, but when those bands were in their like later stuff. So like after the Storm era, Judge, and like the last 7-inch era, Youth of Today, as they were going in towards Shelter.
Yeah,
so that's really cool that you got to see that stuff, like the 83 stuff. That's some of my favorite shit in the world. You ever see Jerry's Kids back then?
I did see Jerry's Kids. Yes. Yeah.
God, that's awesome.
Which
That's
they're
like
like bands of all time. I love Jerry's Kids so
same.
much.
And all those things like Gangrene is really fun and all that, but I think Is This My World is just at the one of the top. I don't know how you figure it out, but the top 5 ever, I think, for hardcore, American hardcore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is Boston, not LA. Like spoke to me crazy when I first heard that, and I was just lucky to be around this area to be exposed to all those awesome bands at the time.
That's amazing. Holy shit, I'm jealous. That's cool.
So usually when I start out, I usually ask, what kind of got you into punk and hardcore when you were a kid? What kind of drew you to it? What were the first couple bands that kind of made you say like, whoa, this is something different that I like?
Well, punk is probably a different story than hardcore in that, because I didn't have older brothers or friends like that. I just kind of an alienated, frustrated teenage kid, and I listened to lots of everything, to be honest. It wasn't, I mean, when I heard the Clash or the Sex Pistols for the first time, it was within a year of liking a lot of stuff. It would have been like the Selector or the Doors, or like just like it was, everything was going in. But that really spoke to me a lot. And then just by complete randomness in a pretty, at the time, less than 500,000, like a smallish city for here, that I grew up in, it just was completely dumb luck. Like friends of mine, my friend Naomi was dating a guy that was like a straight edge kid, and it wasn't a far jump to get from like punk and the stuff I liked, Crass and the Exploited and all those kinds of things, and to realize that there's some form of that like locally in my city, which is a really small group of people, which was the Chokehold guys, honestly. That they started, I think, like 90 or 91. That was right around the first things I ever saw. And yeah, I mean, really just like one summer of my life and that chance kind of encounter in a really fairly small group of people, looking back on it, dictated, I mean, the entire rest of my life from there. I'm 46 and I'm still on that same page because of that moment. So that was really it. And I was lucky to be dumped into like a moment too that was like argumentative and political, but shit disturby, with a group of people that was not the typical uptight kind of way to go about it. It was aggressive and confrontational and contrary. I don't know, all the things that I guess made up my DNA. Of whatever this is now. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
I heard you on Ray Harkin's podcast about Boomtown Rats, and that was almost.
Oh yeah. If you want to go back that far to being like a kid and hearing that song when I was a kid, heard that, just like it was just dark, and something about that was disturbing, and it struck a chord, even though I couldn't really understand that yet. Yeah.
I thought I think the first Boomtown Rats song I ever heard was Up All Night. Do you remember that song?
Is it on the Art of Surfacing? Is it on that LP?
I think it is. They had a video on MTV, and that's like the first time I was exposed to it. And then the song that you were talking about, is it I Don't Like Mondays? Or that's the song? Yeah. The girl that the song's about a girl that commits suicide, right? Like
he wants to go to her school and shoot this. It was kind of a Columbine.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, and it was based on a true thing that happened. Man, I don't know how people do this, where they read what people are saying and then talk at the same time. I cannot do that very well. So I'm going to apologize to everybody, because ADD is bad enough as it is, man. And it also cuts off, so I don't know.
Same thing. I like once in a great while I'll see something like flash, but for the most part I can't really, like, my attention span is
Me too, especially after this year. But
I know you did Ron's Must Listen podcast. How did that go?
It went great. What a prince among men, that guy. What a great dude. Yeah. It was great. That was just this morning. Not usually 2 of these in one day.
I know.
But it was cool the way that worked out. No, it was nice. That guy's amazing. He's been really good, and a really good friend throughout the last year or two. I've been stressed out through all of COVID. It's nice to have people that you can kind of give it back and forth to.
Yeah, me and him kind of started being friends with COVID, and we've been really good friends for probably like going on a year and a half now. I mean, I usually talk to him every single day. Just a great guy, and we get along really, really good and stuff like that. So I'm glad to see that you were on it. I was on it a few episodes back too. So
that's cool. What is somebody talking about liquid smoke like whiskey? See, cuts off. I just got the last half of that sentence.
Yeah.
Looks like a good zinger though.
I think it says, "Are you?" I can't get it.
Are you really vegan and straight edge if you do liquid smoke? I don't know. The jury might be out. I might have to firestorm myself. I don't know. But yeah, no, Ron rules. That was really nice to catch up and talk about stuff. It was like, what was your record?
My record was Millhouse, Obscenity in the Milk.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Long
So,
Island.
such a, I don't. I would ask you, but I don't want to give it away because I know
Oh yeah.
you're number one on season 2, so I don't want to give away your
Yeah.
pick.
It wasn't like a culty hardcore record. Like I kind of fought the impulse to do something like that and went with something a lot different.
Yeah, I was I was so confused on what to pick. It's hard to pick just one, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to not Youth of Today, but Gorilla Biscuit Start Today was like that's like one of my top 5 of all time, and I didn't pick that because everybody for the most part knows about that record, so I kind of wanted to pick something a little different, and
Yeah. Did you like that one
just
a lot? You like that kind of stuff, that era of stuff a lot?
um yeah, I mean, I'm all over the place. I mean, when I first started listening to music, I started listening to like thrash metal, and then that turned into hardcore and punk, and then I was huge into metalcore, and then as soon as I saw Seisha, I kind of started going towards the screamier side of like
Yeah.
hardcore and the emotional screamier side of stuff, and I
Yeah.
mean that's talk to you because like all the bands that you were in, you kind of fit in every genre. I mean, you've probably played in every single genre of every, like pretty much heavy genre. Burning Love is so much different than Sect, and Left 4 Dead is almost like a power crusty like you know
Yeah. We definitely weren't thinking about it that much on purpose at the time. We just liked the shit we liked. And like most of that I was saying about the town we grew up in, a lot of those people it was very momentary. So I kind of learned very fast that like that, it's not worth being that stressed out about the crowd and where they go or how they make you feel. Cause it's, usually 1 year to the next, let alone like 2 or 3 when you're that age is a lot of time. It's a lot of life. And all those people were kind of checked out mostly by the time we did Left 4 Dead. So we were really just kind of fucking around and being jerks at ourselves mostly. Like it wasn't a thing at the time. It was like a dead spot. At Burning Love was a little different, and this was like a decade plus later. But that was like one of the first times I intentionally wanted to do something different, and it overlapped with Cursed, and a lot of stuff was going on with Cursed that was getting kind of dark and hard to be around a lot, and I just wanted to like feel myself do something different at the same time to blow off some steam, which is weird because the main band should already be there to blow off steam, but yeah, I don't know. Also, back then in the '90s too, like I don't think that I was someone that likes, like I guess you'd say screamo seems like that kind of world of that and the stuff I was talking to Ron about today, but absolutely all blended in. So it didn't occur to you really at the time to be like you're into this and not that, because you'd be at a festival and it'd be like Ass Suck and Lifetime in the same hour, and that wasn't even weird to any of us. Just like it's all part of it, you know. But
yeah.
I liked stuff like the San Diego, like the jumpy shit, like Swing Kids a lot.
Oh, like gravity stuff, like gravity.
Yeah, yeah, heroin and things
And,
like that. I think still hold up pretty good.
yeah, yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. I like everything now.
Yeah, we only pigeonhole stuff like that now, but we didn't in real time. It wasn't
Yeah,
like you're from that scene over there. Like we were all in a fucking room. So
yeah,
it was never on purpose, but I guess all those sounds just kind of find their way into it.
very, very true. Yeah, and you were brought up in Toronto, right?
I'm in Toronto right now, but I was born here. I grew up in Hamilton, about an hour from here. It's a bit of a Rust Belty. If there's, I guess, a good relation to American cities, it's a little bit like that. It was a kind of a factory city that kind of slowed down and sort of bottomed out, but didn't. So kind of just like a working class place, a lot of frustrations to it. That's really just like 40 minutes from outside of a major metropolitan city, but it likes to forget that. It can be a kind of isolated place, but it's all changing very fast now anyway, with like the rapid, the way the cities are changing and where everybody's going, what's happening to real estate everywhere here. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
and you have a similar background to me. I know I was listening to the podcast with Ray, and you were saying that your mother brought you up pretty much on her own, and similar background. My dad wasn't in the picture after I was maybe 3 years old. I never saw him after that ever. So it was just my mom, and my mom was a true hippie. Like she was a '60s hippie that actually went to Woodstock and stuff like that.
wow.
So it like on my side of things, it was kind of like I was neglected a little bit because she was like in that lifestyle still, like when I was growing up, and I was kind of neglected and stuff like that. So that's what kind of drew me to punk and hardcore too, because I was trying to find my own identity. And although I was playing like tons of sports, because I was into sports like really heavy when I was young, and that kind of stuck with me. So it's almost like I don't, I didn't want to be pigeonholed into like the jock that goes to metalcore and like spin kicks kids and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I always wanted to be a punk. Like when I saw Repo Man, or I saw, movies like that, I wanted to be the guy with the huge mohawk and the leather jacket with the spikes on it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It was just, I was trying to find my identity back then, and I
Yeah.
know
Me
you
too.
similar background, not the neglect part, but like just living with your mother and getting brought up like that.
Yeah, my mom had been like a hippie too, like in the '60s, and by the time, I mean, she'd been through a lot of shit by the time I was a kid, so she wasn't really in the same boat. But yeah, she had her life, and just any single parent trying to raise a kid is just going to be it's very busy work, you know. So you're trying
Yeah.
to find it either way, especially if it's a mom and you're without a dad, you're still trying to, as like, you're getting all these weird ideas about what it means to be masculinity means and what life is and what your goals are supposed to be and what you're supposed to give a shit about and do and talk and say and fuck and all these things. And I just like everything fuck off. I'm going to figure this out for myself. So I was really glad to find, yeah, like kind of a family in music and hardcore. And a lot of it, people had pretty broken homes and we all sort of helped save each other from them, honestly.
Yeah.
There was midnight moves. There was like scary moments. There was stuff that like I forget until friends bring things up now. Like we didn't even think twice to jump in on stuff. And I guess I don't know, just very instinctual to act like family like that and protective of each other.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
skateboarding kind of play a
Oh
part.
God, absolutely. I don't think there's anybody in the world that skateboarding doesn't play into it somewhere. Especially, yeah, you too.
No,
Yeah.
no, not me.
Oh, not you.
No.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like.
Skateboarding was big.
I think I was playing like hockey and stuff like that instead of like skateboarding. But yeah, I was friends with all the skateboarding kids, but I
Mhm.
was just, it just, I don't know. I never gravitated towards it. It just like falling on the ground on concrete just didn't seem fun to me. So it was like, it wasn't, I don't
I
know.
loved it. I loved that. I couldn't fall on the ice with pads on, getting my teeth knocked out by some big dude. I wasn't. Yeah, I could never deal with sports except soccer. I played when I was a kid.
Yeah,
But skateboarding really, like Thrasher, Pusshead, all the things that just connect instantly, like with hardcore in particular.
yeah,
That was a big one. Even a lot of things like Bad Religion that was just like at the time, it wasn't one way or the other. Like now you'd think of somebody like something like Bad Religion, and that would be like over here in pop punk category, but it was just kind of
yeah.
all the weirdo shit came to you. It could have been gothy, it could have been industrial. I like Neubauten at the same time as I was getting into Minor Threat.
Yeah, I would actually buy Thrasher just to go to the music section and look at like the what bands they have on there and try to find them at record stores. I had a hard time buying records because I live in New Hampshire most of my life, and every record store was like an hour away in Boston. So
Wow.
I had to beg
You have
people.
Newberry?
Yeah, Newbury Comics. It was
Yeah.
there was only two back in the day though. There was one in Harvard Square and there was one on Newbury Street, and that was it. Now there's
Yeah.
Newbury Comics everywhere in the mall and stuff like that. But back then,
The ones in the mall? They're a chain like that?
yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. I know they've totally changed, and like they don't really gear towards any of that independent music anymore. I mean, there's very few CDs. The whole store used to be filled with records and CDs. Now it's like this little tiny section, and everything else is like, Harry Potter shit and stuff like that. So it's almost like a topic now,
Yeah.
basically.
There was record stores where I grew up. There had been a lot of good history of punk bands there. Like Teenage Head was from Hamilton, if you know that. There was a lot of really good stuff, and the kind of the old guard from that had record stores, but there was a real gap between that and like hardcore as we knew it. So unfortunately, a lot of things I could have kind of seen, but they were like not all ages. Like No Means No, there was bands like other good Canadian bands, DOA, No Means No,
Yeah,
bands like that came through, but I couldn't. They were bar shows at the time. But yeah, no, there was record stores, and I just kind of would walk in, and like the first things that looked interesting to me because I didn't know what any of it was, Crucifix, like stuff that jumped out because it was obnoxious, whether it was the Sex Pistols but Crucifix and the Exploited, Crass, Black Flag. But it pains me. I know I always fucking say this, but it pains me to think of what else was on the wall that seemed like it was crazy because it was like $15 instead of $3. I know for
Yeah.
sure I'd seen Misfits and Minor Threat things on a wall. I just didn't know what the hell they were yet. God,
Yeah.
if you could have a time machine and go back for that shit, I'm sure in New England especially, man, you could
Yeah, definitely.
take
Definitely.
it.
What made you want to be in a band? Like, how did that all start? I know, was the band Basket Case one of your first
That was my
band?
friend from high school. Well, we were already kind of playing and messing around. I drummed growing up, so it was just like a really in a parent's basement, you know, like in an unfinished basement playing. Not great, not rocket science, but it was really, really fun to do. And then I went to a show. Like I said, one of my friends, I guess they were kind of gothy, freaky kids, and just like fun, weird kids. I went to a Catholic school, and it really sucked, and it was really violent, and it was just like you don't have a friend group or like an identifiable. It was very tribal, and Ontario was really weird at the time too. Like a lot of, I mean, everybody is an immigrant, you know, like everyone here, no one's from here except native North
Yeah.
America, you know, it's their house and we're standing on it still. But everybody was really defensive of their groups. And I really just didn't, maybe it was the family situation I had. It didn't leave me with any real attachment to like, I am this is what my background is. This is what I have to do. So I didn't really have a group like that. And you just get eaten alive in some kinds of places if you don't have like a good answer to that question. And I didn't give a shit about that. So I was at a Catholic school and it was just like this crazy kind of race war situation all the time. And it sucks too, because a lot of people would move to Canada to get their kids away from the shit. Like there was a lot of Eastern European, there's people that say like Croatians,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know, and like things like that with like real heavy shit that parents are trying to like raise kids far away from so they don't have to deal with it. And then the kids just end up replicating it here. So everybody, it was a rough place. But I went to public school eventually. I had to leave the Catholic school I was at for that reason. And then I just met the nicest bunch of just like fun, skateboardy, freaky people, different kinds of people that hung out, you know, weirdos in the smoking area, heavy metalers, punks, skaters, freaks, goths, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then my friend dated this guy, Zach, who turned out to be one of my best friends. And I went to some show that was apparently the first Chokehold show. I think that we talked about this with Chris that sings for them. It was basically a battle of the bands. It was just like different high school bands. But I just got chucked over a table and into a wall. It was just like you're saying of that thing when you're, well, except I wasn't 11, but I was very portable, compact size. And it was just like the amazing, like weird feeling in your stomach where you just like have to be on your toes, which
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
now with a band like Hoax or someone that's just like someone chucks something, or Nine Shocks Terror, and like I forgot that feeling of just having to watch out for my face and not being sure what way this was going to go. It should be a little bit like that, but that feeling just absolutely like on first contact, I'm like, I already was listening to, I guess, hardcore-ish punk, if you American things like, I guess Crucifix and Crucifix and Kennedy's and all that kind of stuff, you know, is halfway point
Yeah.
in my threat. And I just, it was just no question like that. Not just something like this, like literally this is the room I want to be in for the rest of my life. And I basically still am standing in the middle of that room, which is either pathetic or awesome. I'm not sure.
No, I think it's awesome. And like I said, I'll be 50 in January. And I'm still trying to go to, obviously I haven't gone to shows in a long time, but still active when shows were happening at the end of 2019.
Yeah.
And yeah, when things hopefully get back to, whatever it's going to be, I'm still going to try to go to shows as much as I can. This culture for me has never gone away.
Yeah.
I'm a huge hip hop guy too, so like I kind of bridge the gap between like both of them. I go to those shows and then I go to hardcore shows. You know what I mean? So it's I don't think it'll ever go away from me because I've been listening to hardcore and punk since, like I said, '83 at least, and I'm still trying to listen to newer bands too, which I'd like to talk to you about. I think now in Canada, there's a bunch of great new heavy bands that are out that keep springing up all over the place in Canada. Have you kind of had your ear to that, or
Oh,
are
God,
you?
yeah. I mean, bands like Tomb Mold, there's been some stuff out of here to friends bands here that there's always been really good things, and bands like Career Suicide that came out of here, which are pretty heavily rooted in like this is Boston, not LA kind of aesthetic of hardcore and school of it all. No, we've always had a lot of really good. We're lucky to have pretty level-headed people here. It's not really the same as it is down there with like, I don't know, crews like combating scenes of things. It's just like everyone usually knows each other because it's a small enough world. So when there's good bands, it's always like two steps to somebody you know or you know them. But there's been some real killer stuff. Tumult really sticks out from the last couple of years before all this, like a death metal kind of.
Yeah,
band.
yeah.
But yeah.
I think a few bands that I've heard up there, I don't know if you've heard these bands, but Karloff is a band from Canada. There's a band called Diana Crawls that does like a lot of different stuff that's heavy, but like kind of mixes it up with some like electronic stuff. And I'm trying to think, Obrea Sky, another band from up there that does like really heavy stuff. Burial Etiquette, I think, is from there. Cell Press, like there's like so many new heavier bands that are coming out of Canada that it's almost like there are more bands coming out of Canada now than there are coming out of America. Just like really, really good, interesting bands that are doing different things too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's weird. I can't see the forest for the trees sometimes when it's such a part of my life and all I'm ever at is shows or in the middle of or planning or going to the next thing. It hasn't been so much around here like lately or since Sect because I'm the one that's up here going down there.
Yeah.
So I would catch things. There was a really good DIY space here called Faith Void that shut down, I guess, a year ago or so, like before COVID, maybe 3 years ago now. God, time is weird, hey? Like measuring time now is so, there's so many layers of everything. Like something like Burn Love, which seems like it's only halfway to like a real long time ago if you're talking about like high school. But even that, or like the end of Cursed has been like 13 years since the end of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, something that's been like a year, 2 years, 5 years, or thinking you saw somebody like lately, but it was like 5 years ago. It's crazy. But
I know it's like the Curse video that I had recorded and posted.
yeah.
That was
in like a university hall, like in a room, right? Was it Ampere? Was it that?
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was UConn down in Connecticut. And I think the year was maybe 2002, 2003, right around that time.
You know, just before that, Ruination used to go a lot around like Western Mass, like Springfield, and there was that moment, you know, like those Elks Lodge kind of shows.
Yeah.
So many amazing bands like Tear It Up and the ones that kind of just like a step ahead of before that. Spent a lot of time there with the Swarm. Our bass player, like our later half bass player, Lou, was in that band Barrett.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
he was from, and he kind of grew up with the Bane guys. So yeah, we spent a lot of time. It was Worcester he was from, but yeah, got a lot of love for that area. I never really jived with Boston proper. I don't know what it is about it. I always kind of vibe me out. Like I never knew how to take it on. And as a city, just to visit it in the last couple of years, finally, gratefully, I did get to see it. But I've always been more like on the periphery, you know, all the places outside of it.
Well, I think Swarm. I'm pretty sure I saw Swarm back in the day in Worcester, Massachusetts. Maybe at a place.
Space.
The Space, yeah.
Yeah, the upstairs one. We played a few. Was there a fireworks accident? Maybe Bane and Buried Alive or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not Buried Alive, but it could have been with Bane. That sounds very familiar. I mean, it's been so long ago that I'm pretty sure it was at the Space in Worcester, and it's kind of like a big warehouse room type of thing, like really like long and lots of windows up top and stuff like that.
Yeah. What are y'all talking about down there? I'm really bad at this. I don't know how people do this shit. You should make a designated part that you take questions because it's All right. Well, it's bad enough. I'm not going to do any justice if I try talking to anybody down here.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is all these things that are written go away once I save this, which sucks because I always wanted to go back and read what everybody's saying. You know what I mean? But like as soon as I save this, all those comments go away.
Right. I saw somebody asking about Sect playing in Hamilton, and it's really hard to say because we have a pretty complicated. Like it's not that easy for us to just like start because mainly because the border has to be open, air travel has to be normal, and then venues have to be fine. So for us, it's going to be an extra step or two after everything gets rolling to be able to make plans around all this, you know. But
Yeah.
hopefully, we had a really good time when those guys finally got up here. It's just I'm one of five, and I'm up here, so I usually go down there and we do like a corner of the U.S. at a time. But
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun. Yeah, we got up here and did Ottawa and Montreal and Hamilton, and those guys had a pretty good time with it, and I definitely did.
Yeah. Now,
So
when
hopefully,
you were young, did you dabble in like drinking and stuff like that because of like being not because you were brought up by your mother and just didn't have a father figure or stuff like that, but I mean,
honestly, you know, this sounds kind of cliche, but yeah, and mostly because it was to do with that. Yeah, I did. I dealt with a lot of things about identity and frustration and insecurity with that, and I was really good at it really young. So I did. That's kind of my relationship to straight edge too. It's like I'm glad I sort of feel like it's a normal part of growing up. It doesn't have to be for everybody. If you never needed it and you never did it, that's awesome. But that's not most people's story. So I'm glad after having so many friends that started, you know, like sober, young, almost too young to be true, you know, and then they don't really know how to moderate it and they come around to it later in life. Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna answer that one. See, this format is difficult for an ADD case. But no, I drank a ton, and I just needed to stop before I was an adult. Like I have pretty good memories. I don't regret it. I don't play it down. Like you're a teenager, you're frustrated, but for me that was masking a lot of like just pain and just sorting through shit. So I not because of being a superhero, but because of not being that good at moderation. It was easier when I found an excuse to like black and white not do that ever again.
yeah,
You know, and it's still hard. The last year has been really stressful, and then my head still goes. I have dreams about smoking still now, 46, that I haven't done since I was like 19, just because like you need something that wants to hit the button and let some steam off, you know. But
yeah.
I did anyway.
So what age did you kind of put that aside and straight edge came into your life?
Well, here you can drink when you're 19, you know, so you lose all the straight edge kids there at 21. We lose them at like 19. So really right about the time that I could legally go to a store and buy booze and take it back to my apartment and sit at my table and drink it, which just seemed so fucking depressing to me.
Yeah.
So it took me a year or two. I didn't do it overnight to appease the people around me. It's like, okay, that's really something to think about. I got to metabolize this. And it was a lot of things. I was kind of cleaning house about television, politics, you know, cigarettes, like everything that gets abused and gets habitual and it takes over your head, and it's really hard. Anything that's really hard not to do and just make somebody a ton of money, you know, kind of cut a lot of things out at one time. So I took a year or two. By the time I was about 20, you know, there's like a couple months of overlap, gray area, and then I got it out of there, and that was it. Someone is asking where the double bass idea from friends in the music business came from. One is actually a baritone guitar and a double bass. I'm not sure where it came from. Probably Christian, our guitarist, or Dan, our bass player. Two really low tune things and no normal guitar. Yeah. How about you in terms of drinking?
Yeah, I I mean, I kind of dabbled in smoking weed when I was young, and then pretty much like maybe my sophomore year in high school, I was like messing up because I was drinking and smoking weed and doing stuff like that. And you know, I had a teacher that came to me and was kind of like, "You're a smart kid. Like you're a really good kid. You shouldn't be doing this. Like let me like talk to you. Like I'll take you out of class and I'll walk you around the school and we'll talk. And like I know you have a fucked up like relationship with your family and stuff like that. And I want to help." And this guy really helped me, and it kind of pushed me where I like turned straight edge for uh, maybe 4 years. Like when I turned 21, I didn't drink at all. Everybody was trying to get me to drink, and I just refused to drink and stuff like that. And then that kind of went away, and then I kind of went back into drinking and you know drugging a little bit, and then you know maybe my early 30s, I kind of cut it all off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I cut all like you know drug. I never was addicted to drugs, but like I would do it here and there and stuff like that. And then I ended up finding my wife, who like we got we got together, and I just wanted to do better for my life. You know what I mean? It was like such a fucked up life that I had that like I had like a, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a premonition or whatever it was, but it was like I just wanted to be a better person, and she helped me with that. And so I quit all drugs, whatever drugs I was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would barely drink. And now, like in the past like 2 years, I've been sober for 2 years, and I haven't drank or
That's cool.
and I like drugs itself has been almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
it's
different for everybody, man.
it's just
It's
something that I need to get rid of in my
yeah.
life. It wasn't helping anything; it was making things worse. And I finally realized that. It took a long time to realize, like, I don't need this shit. Like, it's not making me feel good. It's making me feel worse, actually.
Yeah.
So,
When I think about it now still, and I get sort of like, I guess it's like tempted is the word for it. I know I'm probably like, when I stop and think about it, I'm like, I know I would feel terrible. It wouldn't help. Like I used to try, it used to help me sleep kind of, but not ever help. It just knock you out. And then you wake up feeling like fucking disgusting on somebody's fucking floor. Like that's not going to be useful to me now, you know? And it would, if I let myself do that now, it would work, and then it would need to work every fucking night for the rest of my life. So I would still have the problem I was trying to not deal with, you know, and now the other problem, because I just have a bad personality for it. Like straight edge doesn't have to be dogmatic, and it doesn't have to be like, I don't know, extremes and dogma are bad no matter who does them. So I feel like defensive always to like explain like I'm not that kind of straight edge guy, but I also feel a little defensive of it because I've known people that have come from really fucked up homes. Like I don't care what you have to call it. To some people it's recovery, to some people it's straight edge. This is like independence from something that can get the best of you. That's it. If some
yeah,
people smoke weed and that's great and you can grow it and fucking do it and it's that simple and it doesn't go somewhere worse for you, why the hell not? If you're, you know what you're accountable to and with the people in your life. I don't know. It's the extremes that I've seen a lot of people really fall off in a really sad way. So I'd rather be able to be realistic the whole time and just when I was around, I've been bartended before, you know, like I've been around that shit. It's just like, that's you, that's not me. I'm in nightlife all the time anyway, shows, whether it's bars or venues for my whole life. Just like I want to have a grip on the things that I know I'm not very good at containing if I don't. That's all it is. It doesn't make you better than anybody, you know? And it doesn't ever mean that you're like that forever. Like right now, it's like a stressful moment. It's like you have to always check yourself and have your friends help you. And in the context of hardcore, straight edge is like a thing we know as an idea, but that's not, you have to take that forward into your life as if, like, look at the last year, hardcore hasn't been here because nothing's been there. So if you don't
yeah.
already have a really good grip on what you can get away with and can't, then like you're toast at moments like that, you know?
When I was younger and I had that, I stopped doing it when I was in high school. I think straight edge music really, spurred me towards like just getting clean and doing like, and it really, really helped me. I went on a huge dive of straight edge music then. I was like, I loved it. Earth Crisis was obviously a big, big band for a lot of, in Minor Threat and Slapshot up here
Mhm.
for me too.
Dude, Slapshot is probably like the most perfectly up my alley for like my mindset. Like it's kind of, we played Sect played a festival in Mexico City 2 years ago or maybe three, and I got to actually like punish Jack Kelly for a whole a whole night. That's like my perfect ideal, like someone that's kind of taking the piss, but they're serious about that part of
Yeah.
it, just in terms of themselves. But they're like kind of a ball buster that's self-deprecating, but like I don't know, a shit disturber, but on the good side. That's about
Yeah.
ideal for me. Like ultimately like a punk in their head. I like
Yeah. Yeah.
Slapshot and Negative Effects and all those things are that shit's
Oh,
my back speed.
yeah, yeah. Choke. Jack Kelly is. I
Yeah.
love his Instagram. Shows a
Oh my
lot of
god.
funny stuff.
I did have to unfollow his Instagram. He posts quite a lot of cats and shit like that. But oof, yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean,
he
thank you for
he
your
gets
service.
um, so did you go on a huge straight edge dive when that first happened? I mean, were the
No,
bands
I
that were
never well no, for sure bands like that. And Earth Crisis played there was a house, I see there's Hamilton people in there. there was a friend's house, actually Zach, the guy that I was saying was my friend's boyfriend, that kind of was a gateway for me. Um, there was a house called House for Zach, and it was just like a punk house of people that was a block from my mom's, at the top of the Sherman Cut. If any Hamiltonians are there, you would never even believe the shit that happened in this living room in 92 and 3 mostly, but everyone, like the very first Earth Crisis, the Conviction records, the 7-inch, and just that demo, that tape that was going around with like the Taxi Driver samples, which like turned into Firestorm later.
Yeah.
That stuff just went through, like our friends were taping it for each other. And that was a real game changer, man. Like seeing that. I know people will have a lot of opinions about that band, but honestly, the fact that they went that overboard about it is what made it have that much impact to so many generations of people. And ultimately, that's a real positive thing. But I never went crazy with like Youth Crew. Like I said, a lot of the kids that when I came into it that were really intimidating and kind of cliquish, it was that moment. It was kids with like A Million Instead and Judge shirts on. So I almost had to push back a little bit. And I ultimately found my way towards the parts of that I liked. But I liked, even within that, my favorites of things like that weren't like the Real Rev catalog, obvious stuff, but they were some of the Revs. But stuff like Side by Side, Judge, specifically New York Crew, like, I don't know how to explain this other than to say it's stuff that sounded more urban than suburban, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I liked a lot of shit from that world, but it'd be like Life's Blood and not, Inside Out as much, or in Gorilla Biscuits to some degree, but way more stuff. Yeah, things like Life's Blood. I love Chain of Strength. In a, I don't know, I gotta hold that into history. And most of those things I don't really go in for like reunions about them, unless those people themselves have kind of like not stopped, which like say Porcell or someone that's like, okay, that dude's just been going and going and going. But when it comes to something that's about an ethic, if you don't really represent that anymore, and young people do, and that's their connection to it, I think it's a little disrespectful to do it. And there's money in it, and you get older and all that shit. But I don't know. I would have loved to see things like that. I heard about Judge and I heard the good stories. That's like one night it was really good, and then the next it kind of lost steam. But no, I loved some of it. Youth of Today for sure. I really loved, like, Can't Close My Eyes. Youth of Today was
so good.
I like chaotic shit like that. But I think you know what I mean, like the sort of polished shit that's like a little bit, I don't want to say suburban because I don't know where everybody was from, but I don't know. Maybe it's the crowd. I'm judging the bands by the crowd that they spawned.
Yeah. Do you remember a band called Excessive Force from?
Yeah, Inside Front tape comp.
Then and then he did that record label Life Sentence, which was basically all straight edge bands back like that. I think that was late. A band in New Hampshire called Ukalamock that I used to hang around with all the time up here got on that label too as well, and went on a tour with a band called Grimlock. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they were from Massachusetts. But
sounds like it's Chorus of Disapproval kind of era, like that.
Yeah,
that frame.
Like it was like when like Focal Point, remember Focal Point and stuff like that.
When I joined as the second drummer for Fucked Up, I actually was the first drummer for Fucked Up. But no, Jonah's too good and I'm too bad at drumming. I will not. Sorry. Go ahead. That's my final answer. They're not. It's okay.
I'll go on to how did Left for Dead like come together?
Like I said, we were just kind of hanging out, fucking around. There wasn't many people left at the time. Like they were still sort of around. Our friends were there, but I don't know. We watched a lot. It was mainly me and Jeff watched a shitload of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies in like one afternoon in the daytime, and went down into their parents' basement with Matt, his brother, who drummed for Chokehold. They used to jam in their parents' basement and wrote like pretty much all the songs in like a moment, just like that. And then we had, it was actually like 3/4 of Chokehold and me. There was a couple lineup changes in a really short time, but no, it just happened. I don't know. We didn't really have any goal for it. We didn't get very far from home, and it was all really like in a year and a half. It's weird to say that now because everybody sees things as if they were a big deal at the time, and it wasn't.
Yeah, you guys didn't, like, back then there wasn't any like big tour or anything like that, right? You were just playing in Canada.
Oh my God, Ray. Sorry, someone's asking if I remember Isa. She was a teacher at OCAD, OCA, an art school teacher. I lived with some people here when I moved back here to Toronto, and my friend Simon Harvey, who runs a label called Ugly Pop, who's a real opinionated guy, bit of a hothead like we all are. And his partner Isa actually sang a song with Basket Case with my high school band.
Oh.
I do remember Isa, and that's really cool to see somebody that was their teacher, because she was really cool, and we actually reconnected now. It's been awesome. I don't know if you found this, but the last couple of years, I've been seeing people from all the way back. Like I haven't seen so many people from the middle of the way back, but then you've been catching back up with people from like 30 years ago just now. And I love having people still just somewhere in my orbit. They don't have to be the same, just want to be friends with people as they go through life. But yes, I do. Shooting the shit about Hamilton bands. Okay, I'm going to ignore everything down there, or I'm going to get way off with what we're talking about here. Simon shut down the Ugly Pop label. I know he did. Simon, my friend, had really good taste, and he would reissue shit right after I would finally seek out some like hard to find or punk record. It made me start just looking up before I buy things like that now. If I'm going to like just drop money on something for real, like I look up now if there's a reissue coming out, because I got a bad habit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, really good output. He did some really, really good stuff in his time. So sorry, what were we saying?
We were talking about Left 4 Dead, and like maybe there was no like major tours, right, with Left 4 Dead. That was kind of all Canada shows for the most part.
I mean, not even just Canada. We went once to Montreal in the very tail end, but no, we hardly went more than 2 hours from home. But that was the time, like there wasn't much happening to do anyway, so we went just like Southern Ontario, a couple little places, but mostly didn't get very far. We probably played like 20 or less than 20 shows in the time we were together.
And so what was the mindset when you guys kind of got back together on the one like album?
Well,
like,
that's the only time so far I kind of drank any of their reunion Kool-Aid, and it was all just Dom that runs A389. He's an Ontario cat. It's down there around Baltimore, and it was his birthday. So after all that and all those years, just like, oh, it's your birthday. Okay, that was why. That was it.
Yeah.
And then it turned into, it didn't need to be as long as it. I don't know how any band really gauges what they're supposed to do. Like I saw Infest, and I was so scared to see them because they were so holy to me, Yeah. I'm like, if this sucks, I'm just going to walk into fucking traffic. I don't know what. So fortunately, they fucking ripped my face off, and I was so glad. But yeah, we did the very first American show. We'd never played down there at all anyway, but with that one, the A389 one at the Auto Bar was wild. And then we kind of kept going, and we probably didn't need to do so much, but we wanted originally, before everything kind of ate shit, to make more songs than we did the first time. So that 7-inch, that one, which I was really happy with, it sounded like, we just picked up right where we left off. And we weren't trying to. That's just like we get the same people in a room together, and that's what comes out. We were going to try and make 4 of those, but we just got the one, and I don't know, the way it all went down and burned up was pretty Left 4 Dead like anyway. So it was all good.
Oh, how many shows did you guys do when you kind of got back? That was 2014. Was that 20?
Yeah, it was. It would be like a lull, and then something the next year, and then something 6 months later. It's almost like a circuit just finds you when you do shit like that. But it didn't really need to be like that. I could have done it all in one big burst of a month or two.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't like. I've always wanted to just deal with bands that, like, if you still love hardcore that much, and this to my point about Chain of Strength or something, or John Joseph or whatever too, like if you have that much to say, just make something now that's relevant to life now, whether you're whatever age. Doesn't really matter that's what has more commodity or can get you a higher guarantee or whatever. Like, who gives a fuck? So I didn't want to do that. I was playing in Burning Love. I'm like, this is really cool. There's like 1,000 people in some thing, but my head is in the middle of a band from real life now that might be 20 kids in a basement now, like Left 4 Dead was then, Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry, Ray, same guy. The very first of the Left 4 Dead shows, I was a fucking dick, and I put it in a room in Chinatown in Toronto that was so small. It was like a capacity of like maybe 40, 50 people in a bar. And it was the first of them all. And it was so insane that I was on the floor, and there was people like, I was under knees. People had to crowd surf to get to the door. It was weird. Wow. Yes. Crazy and terrifying. Fire Hazard Central. You are right, sir. Yeah. But no, we probably should have let it go a little sooner. I don't know. You never really know what to do. So there's water under the bridge and you sort out your old shit. But then how much of that do you need when you still play in bands? Like Jeff played in bands and like Haymaker and bands that were killer, really good bands, you know, and we all have our own shit. So I didn't want to take away from what I never stopped making hardcore and playing in bands from now. So I didn't want to do that instead of whatever project was in front of me, whether it's big or small, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And devoid of everything, kind of like just putting kind of like you guys did kind of two little compilations of all you guys' songs. Like Splitting Heads was like a, you know, and then Devoid of Everything came out. Were you like a big part of that, or like who wanted to put all those songs together and put it out as that those, you know, albums?
When the CD came out, it was that I was talking to No Idea people, and Jeff was talking to Mike Fight, who did the Ochre split. So I think we put them in one of those terrible positions where we made them both like co-release a CD, which really is kind of a headache for any label. I don't know why. It's just get $1,000 together and just do your own release of it. So sorry to everyone on all sides about that, but that's how that CD came out. And then the A389 was like he remastered it and made it sound like we did all that in like a psychopath's basement in Hamilton, Ontario. For like $10 an hour in like 4 hours, like almost all the Left 4 Dead discography. So Dom got the tapes or the reels or something somehow from Jeff, and they actually, I don't know if I can't remember the person he uses to master and remix, but they did a really good job of it.
Yeah,
to make it sound a lot sharper. So
yeah,
that was cool. Didn't have much definition in the beginning.
Yeah, that sounds really good. That's someone asked, do you still play drums? Would you play drums in a band?
Would I? Please stop asking me, because I'll say yes, even if I can, and I'll stress out about it a ton. And then you'll get whatever thing you send me back like a year and a half late, and I'll have wrecked your life, and you'll be like, why did I get involved with this guy? No, I grew up drumming. I like it. I would do it again. Yeah, I've been playing like over the course of COVID. I got actually an electronic kit and a couple things I just wanted to learn, a bunch of different instruments. I'm just now learning to play like guitar. Not properly because I suck at it, but just actually sitting down with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that side of it. And I'm really like, my social anxieties get worse and worse. That was before COVID too. So I'm not sure. It'd be a perfect time to learn how to do something that I just can do myself.
I mean, so with this thing that's going on with COVID and being locked down and stuff like that, and things are starting to open up a little bit. It's crazy in the United States. Some states are completely open, which is mind-boggling.
I wouldn't take much stock in that. You know, it doesn't mean it's smart, and it doesn't mean it's going to hold. But
yeah. But how have you, in the past year and a half, 2 years, dealt with stress? You know what I mean? And how have you just been able to kind of keep your mind at ease about everything, really, what's going on?
Not very well, to be really honest. I'd love to have a better answer to that, but no, not really well, man. I had different funny enough, I always promise my poor long-suffering wife that I will deal with my frustrations, because I just kind of bounce around, you know, from solution to solution. A lot of like herbalism, a lot of things that I use for teas, you know, like skullcap, kava, like valerian stuff that people take to sleep, that just kind of takes me down a notch or two. So there's some things that are dietary and holistics like that helps a little bit. But I was in therapy right before COVID, and I was kind of like, I did it because I kind of said I would, and I really did need to get on top of my stress. But it was funny because it was sort of like this guy trying to help me through that permanent feeling that the sky is falling and something terrible is always about to happen, just before fucking COVID happened, you know. So it was like, how you like me now? This fucking sky is falling. Now what? That wasn't just in my head. So yeah, it was called well, I've had sleep studies and sleep problems my whole life, and it explains a lot of the fucking songs I've probably written. But you know, they wire electrodes up to you and watch what happens to your brain all night. And many waves of bandmates will attest that I've had to wake up to go to the bathroom in some kid's house on tour, and I'm just sitting there like waiting for the morning to keep going. So a lot of my life, like, I've lost a lot of sleep, like a lot. Like, takes a big chunk out of your life expectancy amount of sleep. But when they did it and measured it, they said it's like hypervigilance, which is like somehow PTSD related. Not sure why, don't care why, but It's that you're always looking to head off these threats
Mm.
in your head, like get ahead of them and stay ahead of them. And yeah, they're like, you're basically just lying there. I'm like, yeah, right. Like all night. Like that's exactly it. So imagine like 20 years of that and playing in like 3 bands at a time and trying to finish university and work 2 jobs and burn the candle at all the ends.
Yeah.
I don't deal really well. Like I did CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, like just really relaxation, I guess stuff, and just like thinking through your really fucked up thought process beforehand, so that when it hits you or you're gonna have a panic attack or something, which is things that I get, when it happens, you can sort of rationalize it in real time a little bit at least. So
Yeah.
that's helped. But this last year, honestly, it was kind of like the shoe falling. So COVID didn't blow my mind. That, if anything, the last year or two has been the first time in my life that like the internal chaos of like I'm reading, under the surface actually was reflected in the visible world.
Yeah.
So I got more stressed in the last couple months as we threatened to like come out of this and go back to normal if we're not going to address the things that made it happen. Like
Yeah.
I'm bugging out now. Like the dread is perfectly appropriate. I don't think we deserve to be out of it. Like it's relative to the undercurrent, and we're not changing the things that made that happen. So I think we deserve dread. It's our dread. We made it.
Yeah.
So we can't pick and choose realities like that. So I don't know. I haven't been doing very well. My wife helps me a lot. Gladly, she gives me the space I need when I need it, and encouragement I need when I need that, and kicks my ass when I need that. We had a cat that died. It was really weird. I came home from Sect shows the last day. I saw many people, but last March, which is pretty late in the game for COVID, if you think about it. I flew a
Yeah.
lot the weekend, March 12th, I think. And yeah, I kind of came home and I fucked my back up. I got a bad back, and I actually ruptured a disc. Like it ruptured and herniated. Like I had a lumbar hernia.
Ooh.
And I was like to the point, it was basically paralyzed for a bit. Like I was
Yeah.
down for like 5 months. So prime COVID dread, when nobody knew they weren't going to be like dead 5 days later. I was really just scared because I'm like, anything that makes me cough like uncontrollably, like it hurt real, like nothing has ever felt like that. And it couldn't go to the hospital all of a
Yeah.
sudden. I had to get MRIs later on when I could, but I just kind of assumed I was on my own with it. But that shit happened, and our cat out of nowhere died. It was just like a constant, little thing, not related to anything else in the world, all the shit or the bad things, just dropped dead. It was getting up there, but he wasn't all the way there yet. But things like that just kept happening. It was almost comical. It was almost like the things that would make it better you need to remember that they're not the solution. Like the problem is in front of you, and you have to live with it, and all the scary shit is reality, and we have to live with it. Even especially now when everyone wants to just go back to normal and not think about it, like that is when we have to think about it,
Yeah.
So I really just kind of live in it. I don't do very well with it. If anything,
Yeah.
it would be like drinking or something, and I can't do that,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
suck it up, turn it into art, turn it into music where I can, turn it into writing where I can, and that's my vent. So that's why my attitude towards bands is like, I don't care if 4 people ever hear this or 4,000. I need to do this to hear myself work it out,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I deal with anxiety all the time. I was I'm a bit of a germaphobe to begin with, and then
Yeah.
top of that, my anxiety is crazy sometimes, and it's tough for me to. I mean, I get like physical anxiety where like my legs will shake uncontrollably, and it
Wow.
feels like neck is tightening up to where someone's just like grabbing it, and
Yeah.
it's tough for me to deal with that. So I try to. I mean, I've tried everything. I would like walk back and forth. My wife would be like, "Do you want to go to the hospital? You're having a heart attack." And I'd be like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And like, I'd start doing the dishes to try and get my mind off things. You know what I mean? And I mean, I know how it is. I deal with it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, very stressful, especially with this shit going on now. And plus, like here in New England, Massachusetts is opened up pretty much like yesterday. Everything's opened up. Nobody has to wear masks. Nobody
Wow.
has like it's like full capacity at the Boston Garden today.
Well, that's great. If it holds, fantastic. But
Yeah,
holy fuck.
it's a scary thing for me. So
Yeah.
it's like that's that's stuff on my end. You know what I mean? Just trying to deal with anxiety and being
Yeah.
careful. I'm still gonna wear a mask everywhere I go and wash my hands like crazy and do stuff
Yeah.
like that because that's just the person I am, and I'm dealing with my inner issues already. So
Yeah, that's tough, man. I don't have the same thing about germs or anything like that, but that's got to be really hard when something like this happens because it's so huge. One thing that's helped me a lot, I have land in the country. I kind of bought a really cheap piece of land like 7 years ago. And it's just like a cabin in the woods, like in the middle of nowhere. And that has been helping me a lot, even though it's got its own set of like, it's a little scary. Like not having a phone as a phone. There's bears and there's wolves and bears and things like that and hunters and a lot of shit that can be fucked up there. And my particular land, I just have to pull over on the side of a highway in the middle of nowhere and walk into the woods, and I know where my shit is. That's been really good, but lockdown here has meant it's weird. We're doing this weird 1984 shit here somehow. Whoever thought we'd get that before you guys would? But they were like not letting anybody travel between regions, like their immediate regions. And
yeah,
fair enough. Like you have to stop the flow of everybody moving around, but they just did it in this really stupid way. Like we're still in lockdown now,
yeah,
and we have been apparently one of the longest in the world. So, but that would usually be my vent to just go and blow off steam and go sit in the woods and kind of forage and
yeah,
walk around. And I found that's really grounding, just because like I'm solitary. Foraging food has been really fun. The last like learning about stuff like that the last 7 or so years, mushrooms and like greens and a lot of things you can eat. Because you're really just it's very grounding to just be looking at the ground, to be walking around. You're doing one thing, but really all the other shit that's running in the backside, in the back end of your mind is just kind of disperses and figures itself out. So that has been really good. Although I couldn't get up there for all this,
yeah,
so it's right
yeah.
there, and I couldn't do it. So just
Um,
roiling in terror, really, like the rest of us.
yeah, true, definitely.
Yeah,
Going back to like, there was one more thing I wanted to say about Left 4 Dead. I know a lot of people say like, oh, the music is so pissed, and Chris must be a pissed guy.
I
And the
get
funny
that.
thing,
It's weird.
the funny thing that I take from that is I think it's like a pissed idea with the songs and stuff, but you're not a pissed guy in general. I think it's more of an idea of like what your emotions are getting out in those songs, and like
Yeah,
about something, so you wanna vent towards that way instead of like in your real life be an asshole. You
of
know what I mean?
course.
Because
Yeah. You ever see Run Ronnie Run, the Mr.
no,
Show
no,
movie? Oh, it's just this like dumb Mr. Show sketch they turned into a movie where this guy is like sort of like cops. Anyway, this dude's just like he gets kind of famous for being like an asshole on TV, and then people come up to him, they're like, "Tell me to fuck off," and he's like, "Fuck you, bitch." And he says, like, it's just funny. I get that where people are like, "You must be like, no, like no, I'm absolutely livid about a lot of things in life, and because that's so real, this is my vent for those things." But that doesn't mean you're walking down the street punching people in the face.
yeah,
It doesn't mean you're one way or another moment to moment. And when people start bands are like, I just want it to be super pissed, like you're going backwards. Like there's things I can't handle in my life, and I have to turn that into music. I can't go after the idea of wanting it to be pissed and then finding things to be pissed about. It's just like I have things that have to get out. It's the other
yeah.
way. So it's that. It's
I,
therapy, right?
I've never seen you like all the interviews I've seen you in, and like live shows and stuff like that. You like to me, you don't seem pissed at all. You seem like a great guy, and a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh, he must be so pissed. Like these songs
I
are
am
so
pissed
like,"
about those things, but
and,
yeah.
But I was just like, no, he just seems like a regular guy that's just singing about like things that
Yeah.
frustrate him and getting out in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
So I wanted to start talking about the swarm, because on my end in New England, parasitic skies to me was probably, and to a lot of my friends back then, meant a huge amount of like, we just loved that record so much. And when I first heard it, I don't know, it just blew my mind. Obviously, I heard Old Blue Eyes Is Dead first, but when
yeah.
Parasite Skies hit, what's the Morser split, I don't think I heard until after Parasitic Skies. I know
It's
that.
funny that came up this morning with Ron. That Morser split. I love that fucking band and all that family of bands like Acme and all those Euro kind
Mm,
of doomy Euro bands were great. Parasitic Skies was first, but everything came out in a staggered way. There was like two kind of halves to the Swarm. Like we started with Kyle from Grade and Matt that played bass in Grade. Yeah, and then the kind of midway through, Grade was really busy and kind of off and gone a lot. And we lived in a house in Toronto with some other friends that, yeah, we just kind of picked it up and kept going. And that was the old Blue Eyes and the other Force Fed Glass split. And
Yeah.
the Morzer stuff was from the first time around, was like the Kyle, like the first incarnation.
Yeah.
But what about it? Sorry.
Oh, it was just that Parasitic Skies meant a lot for us New England kids back then. I don't know, out of all my friends that listen to hardcore and punk, they always keep talking about how fucking awesome Parasitic Skies
Wow.
is. Like, it's definitely in their top 20 of all time records.
Jeez, that's cool to hear. Yeah, it was very muddy, the recording. I know we used to just do like, Kyle did a lot of tracks of like guitar. There was like just layers upon layers that kind of made it like a wall. We kind of liked it that way.
Yeah, yeah, and you guys definitely played out because, like I said, I'm pretty sure I saw you in Worcester, Massachusetts, if that was the town. And you guys, what was like? Who did you tour with, and how did those tours go with?
We didn't do very much. We did some kind of weekends. Oh God, we played Wilkes-Barre.
Oh, Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah, it was a fire hall. We were dumb and we had a bunch of fireworks. We played, and it was in a fire hall. It was just kind of in retrospect, that was pretty reckless, I guess. I don't know. We had seen, I think Coalesce was the same day.
Oh, nice.
And it was so, that band, I remember their drummer somehow just took a ride cymbal and threw it through the room. Like just fucking the stuff that has happened over time, man. When you think back on the things like that like could just so easily have just been like a dead kid,
Yeah.
A second, like split second shit. But it was like that. I don't know what happened. I had this pitcher that I thought was plastic, but I guess was crystal or something like that. I did something dumb and I threw it and it like shattered behind the sound guy's head. And he fucked over the vocals. And then, so I think there's probably a video of that, of just like running back and forth, just screaming it. And we did something dumb about a smoke grenade or a smoke bomb in the like cinder block that was holding the drums down. Something where everybody had to leave the room and we had to never, ever come back to Wilkes-Barre. But the people that always say you're banned from this town, they're not the people with the authority to ban you from a town. I'll go back to Wilkes-Barre if I want, but it didn't really come up ever again. No, the Swarm played stuff like that and a few kind of one-off weekends. And then later on, we got a little more traction and we got down as far as like Florida or close. Played with some bands like Combat Wounded Veteran and Reversal of Man. Those were killer bands. And that, further to that, talking about kind of that era of like jumpy kind of screamo stuff, that Florida shit like Combat Wounded Veteran was really up my alley.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it just kind of, everything has its lifespan. And every time a band has been like, got close to it, it's always been just like, okay, thank you for your time. Nice knowing you guys. What's next?
Yeah.
Move on, build again, rebuild again. Like bands are made for a moment and every band is like different, 4 or 5 people's creative energies coming together. They're all like a different thing. So whenever something gets like that, I just always try to be happy to let it go and start again.
Yeah.
With a new, I don't know, you don't have to have any concise body of work to show for it. You just have like the moment and the things in front of you. So it's always been a good exercise in like rebuilding and refocusing, I think, to start over and over and over. But the Swarm started getting a little further from home. And then Cursed really was where we first really like tour.
Yeah.
Like, lots of tour.
It was your longest standing band, like time-wise, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It was like 2001 to 2008. It felt like a decade, but I guess it wasn't that long. That's about the max for most of them anyway, maybe like 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good lifespan for a fucking hardcore band,
Most of, all my bands that barely lasted 2 years.
That's the perfect amount of time for a hardcore band.
Yeah, definitely. I was only in small bands around here, but I think I was in maybe 4 bands, and all of them were like a year and a half, 2 years tops.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of I tagged you in like one of the videos that I was played, just to show you like some of the background that you know.
Oh, cool. What did you play?
I sang in a band called High School Sweethearts. I tagged you in it. If you haven't seen the video, it's on
Okay.
my. So
Awesome.
I was also talking about like to somebody else about the Acrid saw blade split.
Mm-hmm.
Came up
Yeah.
with because when I first saw that, I loved that idea also, and that was a great split too.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I really liked Acrid actually at the time. Mike that played drums in The Swarm and then in Cursed was from Acrid, and he was really good, really young. He was like 16 or something when he played in that band, and I was really always pretty impressed by it.
Yeah.
No, the plan was originally to try and do a saw blade, and I guess like a picture disc, but really just have blood spatters on the saw blade, but they couldn't. It was a bit too elaborate for the price points of doing a record like that to do both. So that's why the blood ended up on the sleeve behind it and the saw blade. But yeah, that record really, fuck it. They did a lot of pressings of that. There's people that collect them. I'm like, I don't even know if I have one of those, but that's really neat that you collect all the colors.
Yeah. Blown away when I first saw the saw blade. Holy shit, this is amazing. Same thing with the Swarm and Force Fed Glass. The picture on the record is
Yeah.
So cool. Like the layout,
cool.
really nice on well.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. No idea. I guess you get a lot of credit for at the time. They did a lot of really fun shit, and it wasn't all music like ours. But like, say they did that like Less Than Jake record that was in a pizza box.
Yeah.
Like they like doing fun, ridiculous shit like that.
Yeah.
So pretty much whenever I've crossed over with people that are like enablers of ridiculousness, they're like fun shit just finds a way to happen.
Yeah.
Can't really remember who started what, but yeah, the saw blade was neato.
Now, did you know Kyle from shows, or was it like in? I know it was college. Did you meet him like when you went to college? Sorry, my dog.
That's okay. Oh, look at you. Oh, love. That's cool. I did know him we both went to the same college. Like after high school, I thought I wanted to go into advertising.
Yeah.
You know, when they give you like a sheet with like 6 things on it, like pick one of these and make that your entire life. Like, I guess that one I could do something weird with. And then a couple months later, like, no, you can't. You get shit out on the bottom of this like corporate kind of thing, and you can't change the system of things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there very long. But Kyle was DJing like a just local on campus radio show. Remember, he'd play Ringworm and shit like that. But I did know him. He was in a band called Incision before any of that. Yep. And they played. So I knew them from like the house shows and everything there. Yeah. And then I don't really remember how it actually came about deciding to play together, but yeah, just kind of happened. We knew each other. It was a pretty small world for all that stuff and the people around.
Braid fan or?
I wasn't so much, I guess. I don't know. That wasn't really my world, like that side of stuff. It wasn't anything against any of it, but that wasn't I really gravitated more towards just like nasty, like the H100s, you know, like urban bands, like kind of chaotic, like asshole-ish, good-hearted assholishness, I guess, if that makes any sense. That's the stuff I really was around more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, being from New England, I always liked, Canada bands like Spread the Disease and what was it? New Day Rising. New Day Rising was to me, and was it Abandoned Hearts Club was the other band? Is that what that band was?
Everything you just said, that's the same one bunch of people.
Oh, same guy.
Yeah, yeah, they were all related. Yeah, we knew. Yeah. There's nobody up here. If you throw a name like that out, everybody, it's like friends of yours or friends of theirs. It was really pretty small.
That Acrid was like really big for us down here as well. Like Acrid was huge for us down here.
They toured a lot.
And I liked Grade, but I was more Separate the Magnets than anything else. I wasn't like huge on any other thing besides that album was probably like meant the most to me. But then all the other ones kind of just didn't really like hit for me. But I mean, I liked Grade, and I saw him a bunch of times down here as well. So it's cool. I know Kyle was having house shows too. How were those house shows?
Oh God, in his basement. Yeah, he had a lot of really good ones. I think Coalesce actually played in his basement. No, that was I forgot that. Yeah, he had it. really good basement shows for a couple of years there.
Do you remember any of like the ones besides Coalesce that really were like great shows down there that you saw?
I know that band V Reverse came through. Oh God, Coalesce is the one that jumps out at me, but I know it was for a good couple of years. There was some really fun ones there.
Yeah.
Started forgetting stuff just lately.
So after Swarm ended, what came next for you?
They all sort of overlap. Like there was a point in the Swarm, I was in a band. I think one of the pictures that you had up that you grabbed was there's two singers going on.
Oh yeah,
There's a band called Countdown to Oblivion with some friends
yeah,
here. I just would perpetually, and not just me, like we all would think like that. Like who else wants to do what else? It wasn't even a slight against your main band. It was just like there's no limit to what you can do and with who. So we
yeah.
just start something in a weekend or something, and it would turn into one of these things, But the Ruination, there was a point when Countdown and Ruination and the Swarm were all going at the same time.
Oh, no kidding.
And I was in school, I was in university in like a double major and trying to work my way through university too. So in like a bunch of jobs, and a lot of them were in bars. So like out in a bar until like 3 a.m. and getting out and going to a class at like 8 a.m. and somehow having like 2 band practices. I don't know. I guess this is what happens. You're a total space cadet by the time you're like 40. You're toast. It was worth it. It was fun, but they overlapped. But the Swarm kind of ended. I was in a relationship here at home that just it wasn't really good, and I needed to step out of the whole situation. You probably know Ire and bands
Yeah.
like that. Radwan that played in Cursed had been from this band, The Black Hand, that was so good. And Ire, all their bands were always great. All the Quebec bands there was some real killers that came out of that. But yeah, we had the last couple dates of I guess the Swarm or Ruination went through Montreal, and I think I just said, hey man, if I was here in a couple days and put all my shit in storage and just got here with like a skateboard and a backpack, he helped sort me out. And he did. So we thought it was going to be a big kind of break after the Swarm, and there'd be a good couple of, I don't know, we thought that we needed space, but it was like 6-7 months later, and Christian and Mike from the Swarm and I kind of segued towards Cursed. There's a song called Guilt Parade that was like a later Swarm song that we actually redid for Cursed.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so almost all of them, there's like a continuity, so it's more like there's a whole chain of bands, and really the end of Cursed, like the reason it was kind of heavy for me, that it was different for everybody, but for me it's like that whole bunch of people went back through a chain of things that stretched back to being like 15 years old. So it wasn't just that band, but they always were, they married into each other. And yeah, so Cursed came out of the Swarm with like a bit of a break, thinking I needed to stop playing music, and then like immediately been like, fuck that, just like, what's next? I just needed out of Toronto for a minute to clear my head and out of my life situation to like rip everything up and start again in a different spot down the road.
And I know a lot of people ask you about like curse reunions, which I know you're not down for at all. Definitely, I hear it all the time, and I know you hear it, a ton. For me personally, my favorite bands that you were in were Left 4 Dead and the Swarm. Like, just because I'm older, those are the first kind of bands that I heard you in. Basically, I mean, I loved all the bands that you were in. I didn't really hear too much of Countdown to Oblivion. I just was.
Yeah, they didn't all get very far or do very much. They're not all that significant. Even the ones that you think are significant aren't. I mean, who's to say what matters? It's just what you like.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Billy from Station, saying like how you were saying when Left 4 Dead was playing, it was only, sometimes you were playing 15, 20 kids. The same thing with Seisha. They'd go to a show and play 30 kids. But then if they did a reunion, like you guys did a reunion, now there's everybody jumping on top of you, and all of a sudden all these younger kids are getting into the music, which I think is great also.
Yeah.
But it's almost like when a band ends, they get more popular as the years go on, and then it's just a huge surge of people that like want to go and almost relive what they didn't, what they couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never heard so much about Burning Love as I have in like the last year and a half. I'm like, oh, there it is. That's like the 10-year mark. And with Cursed, it was funny because we toured so much, and people that saw that, and I mean, it's not to say we were like some underdogs that nobody appreciated. Like, who gives a shit? It was just a band. But we played in this weird way that like we thought we had to just like hate life or we weren't doing it right. So we were playing like 200 plus shows a year that just nobody asked for, you know? So we were on tours at the time. It's easy to look at it now, like what you think it is now, you know, as if it was that then, but most of those things weren't. Left 4 Dead wasn't, you know, it was 20 kids in a basement, and Cursed was 20 kids in a basement. Towards the tail end, it started kind of in real time was picking up, but everything was sort of deteriorating internally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I think people are used to if people aren't like physically deceased, reunions just happen by default, and that I don't know. I think you have your lifespan. Everything isn't like that, and there's a lot more interpersonal shit that plays into it too. So in Curse's case, it's hard to get into, but yeah, that's just not ever going to be a thing, and doesn't need to. We did it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So Burning Love was that the last band before Sect happened, or was there another band in between then?
There was a band, another local band that was really just like absolutely like dumb fun, beautiful fun, called Mature Situations, with a friend of mine. And we were just we had this the theme was like extreme geriatric punk, you know, but like I was drumming
Yeah.
and singing a little bit, and I was in a wheelchair. We all had these crazy Harmony Korine looking old people masks. And it was just like, it got really fun somehow. I don't know why or how this happened, but everyone just decided it was going to be ridiculous and violent. So it was just like a picture wheelchairs just getting chucked through a room. It was really fun. So there was that. And then, yeah, I guess and Sect happened not that long after. Maybe there was a bit of a break between everything for a moment before Sect. And then I guess that's been like 5 or 6 years now, maybe 5 years.
Now, were you in Career Suicide too?
No, I played drums on the 7-inch with the guns and the nuns on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all friends. And Mike that played the guitar in Fucked Up.
Yeah.
He played in Ruination. That's the band I played in. Ebro that played in Charles Bronson and Crudos, and Andy Dems from Earth Mover and a lot of bands. We all got that going. And yeah, Mike played bass for a while, and we did a record. We actually did a record of Don Fury's, the one that was on No Idea, that Dead Horse record. And then he kind of pieced out after that. But back at home, we started, like I said, we just would get together and fuck around. So it wasn't even Fucked Up yet, but it was like the first of his songs that I was drumming, and not for very long. And some people tell me I played a show or two. I can't even, like, there was so much going on that I can't even remember that happened. And I remember a lot of shit, but Career Suicide and Fucked Up were kind of related people as well. But and they're all people mostly that are still some form in my life. I just hung out with Damien from Fucked Up a couple days ago out in the sticks with his kids and his wife and him, and walked around a forest and hung out, and it was beautiful. And I keep up with Jonah from Career Suicide and Martin. I saw Dave actually on here a minute ago, their drummer. Yeah, everybody just did shit. I just wasn't that good with drums. They had when they had that dude from Direct Control drumming, those records were crazy. And Dave, and they're really tight. They're amazing. I think Career Suicide is one of the best things that ever came out of Toronto, ever.
Yeah, definitely.
And Fucked Up's output at this point too, it's just staggering how much they've done for how long. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now, how did Sect come about? I know a lot of people say it's a super group and stuff like that.
Again, honestly, that might be, to them, that's what people see from the outside, but you don't know that you're not trying to do that on purpose like that, you know, when you're playing in a band.
Just a bunch of like old friends that, you know, kind of wanted to do something fucking cool, and that's what Sect, you know what I mean? I hear a lot of people that aren't in the scene. They're like, oh, the Fall Out Boy drummer, or, you know, but he was race trader. He was the Race Trader drummer way before that, and you know what I mean?
No, it is true. Andy he's never stopped playing drums in just hardcore bands throughout all that. Like, that's his main gig, you know, and that's like his life. He's a proper successful professional drummer, and a
Yeah.
hardcore kid, you know? So he never stopped being that. So he has played in bands, and he was drumming in a band that toured, and Burning Love did a tour with like a Southern Lord tour for a summer. Black Breath and a bunch of bands like that played it. We played Poison Idea played in when we were different bands like in different spots. And Martyrdod, you know, Martyrdod from Sweden, fucking killer, so good. But we spent a summer together, and we were kind of scheming with him and Greg Thomas, who plays Misery Signals. Um,
Yes.
he played in this band as well with Andy. So our bands just toured together, and we just like by the end of the summer, just schemed playing in something. Just wanted to do something kind of nasty and different, or he'd wanted that, and he'd also had played, I think, filled in for Earth Crisis.
Yeah.
Um, and with them, Jimmy, our other guitar player, who was from Catharsis and a bunch of bands, they had been talking about doing something, and we had been talking about doing something. So Hurley is actually the middle, the connection that brought it all together. I've never had an intentional, like, now we will be this kind of band. I just always taken it like as it comes, like whatever the next chapter is, just like organically happen,
Yeah.
you know? And that has been really cool and very full circle because, yeah, like Earth Crisis, as many twists and turns as the whole story took, it's really awesome because things like Catharsis and Earth Crisis that go back to the very beginning,
Yeah.
you know? So I thought it was a really cool challenge to just play just hardcore as we know it as kids that all grew up with the same shit. So no one's trying to make a super group, and it's debatable. I don't know, that's anybody's definition, but it's just like, what's next? Who's still here? You know what I mean? And who wants to do what?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like
Now,
that.
Jimmy was in Undying too, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Undying. I used to love Undying. Oh my God, they were so good. I saw him up in New Hampshire actually play in Rochester, New Hampshire. I used to love Undying,
Yeah.
um, and I thought he was in that band as well. Now Ian, is he not in the band anymore, or?
No, he played on the very first recording we did.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and then he didn't ever like tour or play. Like he kind of was helping out to do that at the beginning of it all. And then Steve Hart, who plays Day of Suffering, was the band he was in back then down
oh,
there. Yeah, it's a
right.
whole family of all those North Carolina Catalyst world of stuff, which I really did not know much of. I mean,
Yeah,
Undying stayed with us at the Swarm House in Toronto when they came through here. Everybody goes back, you know, everyone's crossed over somewhere.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that was it. I was actually really intimidated by that because my perception of those people was, and it was totally wrong, you know. Just think, like, I don't have to perform straight edge at it. I just like it's what I do. I'm a little bit of a different kind of one, and everyone's. But I mean, the ethic of it is just shouldn't be that kind of rigid. It's not. I don't know. I just like the challenge of doing something. Like my relationship to the straight edge world of things was a little contentious, honestly. Like all that time, I don't like the dogmatic side of it, like I said. And that unfortunately is, if not those bands and those people themselves are a lot more grounded than I ever gave them credit for until I
yeah,
knew them well enough. But the scene around it, you know, was like pretty crazy. And I saw a lot of those people that vibed me out when I was young, just turned like the 180 as I did the opposite 180. So I really liked the opportunity to play like my version of a straight edge song. I'd never
yeah,
written straight edge. So there was one like the Swarm one, that like 13-second song. Um, I just like, for me, if I'm going to sing a song about something at all, it's got to be applicable to anybody.
mm,
And like playing in a bar somewhere, it could be a guy at the back of the bar that has no idea what hardcore is at all, but he has substance issues, right? Like it's got music should be useful to the people
yeah,
around you. So I love this because I mean, again, it's a long story about Kirst and what happened, but there was a lot of really sad, fucked up shit to do with like addiction that came out of that. And I don't know, lost a lot in that deal. But I don't know, I wanted to play a song and write my version of that is like, fuck, what matters the most is to be not as judgmental as to just to be useful to each other, to be here on both sides of the coin. So don't be a fucking dick because that could be you tomorrow and that could be me tomorrow, you know? So I love
yeah,
that. And those guys are absolutely open, like the idea of working together. Like ethic like that should be dynamic, you know, and realistic to the moment and be able to
mm,
adapt, you know, not trying to not make it what it is, but I've enjoyed this a lot. And I've been vegan all this time too, honestly, because of bands like that and Earth Crisis in particular that hit me when I was like 16, 17 years old. So yeah, I owe that a lot. So I love it. I've touched down on like all the different weird splintered corners of hardcore and punk, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, definitely. So you've been vegan since you were what age?
Well, no, probably 1920, 94.
94.
Yeah. So
When I first heard Sect, I was like blown away. And I didn't even know about like who was in it besides I knew you were in it and I knew Andrew was in it. That's it. I didn't know like Scott's in it, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of Earth and Path of Resistance. Um, I didn't know those guys were in it. Or Jimmy from Catharsis and Undying until after I heard it. But when I first heard it, I loved it. The self-title was, amazing to me. It was so heavy too, and something that I was missing with that style of music. And well, I guess what I was asking is like, you guys put the demo out in 2016, right? But then the self-title came out. Is that just a separate
Demo
recording?
that is the self-titled. We did a
Oh,
recording. We went into it thinking it was going to be a demo, and it
yeah.
just like this just is the record. And it was kind of neat
Oh,
because it just like threw me into the deep end. Like I drove to North Carolina from Toronto, and I was just not meeting them for the first time, but really it was like I was freaked out and just had to like write these songs and crank them out like right there on the spot. And I like that. That's how I've done a lot of things. But we just did it and we're like, fuck that. This is like, it's hardcore. This is the record. Let's just use this, make this work. And that was the first thing. So there wasn't, the demo really was that.
oh, nice. And the last thing, Blood of the Beast that came out, obviously, like everybody, I've never heard a bad review about it. Do you guys think that you're just like, growing and getting better and better as time goes on? And with this COVID thing being at like a, in your mind, you have time to like work on things and almost make things better, possibly music wise, because you have so much time to create on your own. Do you think like you guys are?
We it's a weird answer because we come from different schools of playing, and those guys are been pretty pro in their bands, and I've only ever played before Sect in bands that just kind of don't really know what they want. It just like something comes out and it builds up from nothing into something all the way up.
Yeah,
So Sect is the first band I've been in that's like, here's a complete song and you're right, you're part of it. And I mean, Andy's on the West Coast, I'm in Canada, they're in North Carolina, so it's really the only way we can. So it's my first experience of someone like sending me a track and I can write to it.
yeah,
But by the time Blood of the Beast happened, it was like a full LP at a time. So
yeah,
it was stressful for me because I think more and more as time goes on about like I want to convey things the right way, and I get really nervous that they don't come across the right way. But after a point, you just can't agonize over it so much. You just have to like commit it one way or another. So I don't know. Everybody else has their shit way more together than me in that arrangement because they write it. Jimmy and Steve and Scott write most of the stuff, and then they'll demo it at home and send it to Andy and Steve and me, and we kind of learn it, and we get together in Raleigh usually, and we just crash course jam. Like we won't see each other for like a month, and then we'll pretty much up till COVID. Like it's an interesting system because Burning Love, I mean, those guys were a lot younger than I was, but it got really hard just because they hit the age where it was like life got demanding and a band wasn't really a job and wasn't supposed to be. But we lived down the street from each other and we just stopped being able to practice. And those dudes are in North Carolina and I'm in Ontario. And somehow we managed to do something like every 5 or 6 weeks for like years. It was really consistent I'm amazed how much we got done for
yeah.
that, considering it was like a thing on the side like that. So I don't know. That's how we do all that shit. But I don't know if that makes it a super group. I don't really know or care. That's not really my problem to define that one.
I think while I was like saying that, it's just not evolving as in being better, but I think the music has changed a little. Obviously, from the self-titled to Blood of the Beast, there's a little change to it.
It
you know
definitely
what I
mean? Blood of the Beast I think represents like what the original idea was, but it just took like 3 records for it to kind of get to come together because you can only do so much by remote control and the rest of it comes together just when you're in a room and you play a song a bunch of times live and it sort of evolves and it gets a little bit loose in the good way. So the jammy sort of aspect of it is like I'm used to that more so. So
Yeah.
by that time we saw what songs kind of worked and what didn't, and those guys kind of wrote to it. So I was really happy with Blood of the Beast. I have a terrible curse of never getting to a fourth LP, of like a three max, but with a pile of different bands. So like if it was one band, it would look like a really lot of discography. But I hope at this point, I'm not sure what with COVID and then it went down, if it's going to screw my fourth LP curse or not. But I was really happy with Blood of the Beast, whatever the fuck happens.
Yeah, definitely. I love that album so much, and
Oh,
say when I heard it, I was blown away. I tried to send it to all my friends. I was like, you gotta listen to this shit, like all over the place,
thank you.
everywhere. And like I said, I think it's just great talking to you. You're one of my favorite frontmen of all time. And it's just an honor for me to talk to you. I've talked to a lot of people so far in the last year and a half, and I was stoked to that you said you would come on here and talk to me.
Oh, thank you, man. I love talking about shit like this. I love it. It's like it's all I've known my whole fucking life, you know?
Yeah.
I have a sense of like being a person when you played in a bunch of bands, you don't think of yourself in the same way as other people see it. And it just bugs me out to know that or think that. So I like just talking like Ron this morning or you. It's just like you're a nerd for hardcore and I'm a nerd for hardcore. That's it. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely jealous of the goddamn shows you saw. Holy fuck. Did you see Gangrene back then?
I have seen Gangrene. I saw him back then, and I saw him when they were kind of like, singing about beer and
I gotta say, like alcohol, that even as a straight edge guy, I was like, those are awesome. Like, if anybody had to have the mid '80s kind of point that came after the vicious, this is Boston era, Gangrene was pretty great like that with that era, older Budweiser, all that shit.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Gangrene. I saw Gangrene open for this is going to be funny. I saw Gangrene open for Twisted Sister.
Whoa! Wow! And that band had a big effect on me as a kid. I still have those records. But
this was outside in Kingston, New Hampshire. So it was Twisted Sister, Rat, Cheap Trick, Lita Ford, and the Gangrene opened the show. I don't know how they got on the show, but they the whole crowd hated them. They were like throwing beers at him and all this stuff. And the singer mooned the crowd and like flipped them off at the end. Was just like, "Fuck you!" Like, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
I mean, it was so great to see.
Wow.
But
dude, This Is Boston. Their shit on This Is Boston and that sold out Terrorize 7-inch. That just like falling down a flight of stairs sound of, like the drums especially, that's just that manic, hectic, super fast, even faster than fast, like SSD before that.
Yeah.
That mid 80s hit. Gangrene and really Jerry's Kids in particular. Fuck. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I mean that was like I said, I saw most of those bands when they got older. I saw SSD in their prime pretty much.
Wow. Dude.
Like, not prime, but like pretty much. They didn't
you mean like we're both talking about like 2 weekends ago at Tompkins Square, like the good SSD?
Yeah, yes.
It's like Black Flag Matters shirt. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What a fucking idiot that dude. Sorry. It'd be great if you could just lock these things into history, like just like people don't need to take the old man that seriously, myself included, but definitely people like, I don't know. That's weird. It's hard and it's scary to get older when you only frame a reference for life as one thing, and that changes and you have to let it go, what you have to let go of, and keep the part that matters. But damn, seeing people like that, like Al and Nancy, following them is amazing and so fucking cool. But that shit with Spring and like anybody that's just like, I don't know, it's not a moment to joke around with like right-wing shit. It's like we don't have the luxury of that. Like shit's really happening now. So if you were half joking before, just don't even fucking bother now,
Yeah.
Like, Joe Rogan bullshit now is just like, fuck off. No time for it at all. I don't care what band you were in. You don't get a pass, when it matters now. Like you're being the fucking stupid uncle. So I'm glad you saw SSD in their prime is what I mean. And much love to Al and Nancy and the people that carry the spirit of that forward the right way.
Kind of disassociate Springer now. Now they're just like, you know what I mean? Like, that Tompkins Square Park show was, I don't know. It's just like,
It's just a bummer. It's a bummer to see that, to be polarized. Like the culture war doesn't have to be happening at all in real life. We definitely don't need that bullshit within hardcore. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like I saw that videos of that show in LA that happened.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
And that made my fucking goosebumps. Like I loved it. But that's the difference between like punk kids doing a show now with thousands of people freaking out under a bridge and a bunch of old dudes that just want, like, do you love hardcore or do you love the people that love you? You know, like what are you? And that's the difference there.
Yeah.
So that was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like just wait another 2 seconds until we can all do this the right way together. But it's just to treat people like they're fucking cowards. Like, no, they've fucking lost family members. That's
Yeah.
not fucking happening. Whatever you think of it, it's fucking real. Like, respect that.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
like, it's not it's just making a punchline of it, and it's people's real suffering. You know what I mean? So for all to do any justice to the shit, the cool shit you did when you were young, and the songs you wrote, like I just have to lock a lot of things into history and not fuck with them, including rev reunions and everything. It's just like I know this in my head. It's such a part of me, but I just gonna let it be what it was, not pretend that that's permanent when it's not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I wanted to speak on Sect about is there new songs that you guys are working on right now?
There's not. We're in between. We're in between shit. So I guess I don't know what'll happen when things open again and I'm able to get down there. I don't know if it's going to be driving again or flying. We're going to need to really dust it off.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always been able. We can get back together and those guys jam, and then we just get back together and click in a place and play a show. But I would love to be doing some more. But never sure. You never have any guarantees of where everything's going, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
I really, really appreciate those guys and getting, after what happened and the way the curse left off, like a bunch of dudes from my same time frame after a lot of years of playing with like younger and younger people, which has always been great too. But to go kind of back to the start like that, and everybody just wants to fucking hang around and eat cool snacks and fucking play a show with no expectations of it and no fucking egos about it. Just like do the thing that we did when we were 16. But now it's been so fucking cool. It's like when you retire from a company and they give you some stupid pen or something, it's like, this is my like, thank you for all the bullshit of the last bunch of years with everybody that turns into fucking bigots and addicts and a lot of fucking drama and things. I don't like it. This has been like, it's done me so much good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope I've had something to offer back to that world of things, because the kids that like that shit too they're not the cliche of like vegan straight edge. They're like a lot of queer kids, a lot of like anarcho kids. Like it's this perfect meld of things.
Yeah.
Don't ever listen to old people tell you that fucking whatever back in the day is some glorious bullshit and you don't understand, because like you can always have those things. Like it's those kids' world we're loitering in now, you know?
Exactly. Definitely. Well said. Definitely. I know Ron prepared you for my rapid fire that I usually do.
Shit, he did. He said there was gonna be horror movies.
So my first question is, favorite New England punk hardcore band all time for you?
Does Siege count?
I see.
Are they Western Mass?
Yeah, Siege counts.
Okay, that or probably Drop Dead.
Ooh, Drop Dead.
I mean, you get into like this is Boston, like the oldies like that, but in terms of like hardcore, as I've actually known it in my own time,
yeah,
Drop Dead's just, yeah. I can't love those dudes enough or respect them enough. I love it.
And those guys are a machine too. Like they just keep going and going and plus I love Providence bands altogether. Providence is so different from Boston. You know what I mean? It's just so different. You know what I mean? And Drop Dead is great. It's funny. I saw Drop Dead at a listen to this lineup: Snapcase, Drop Dead, Coming Correct.
Oh my!
And Voorhees.
Well, 2 out of 4 ain't bad. That's cool. Voorhees, I got cut off today with Ron in the middle of talking somehow about Hatebreed. I don't know how it came around to Hatebreed, but they played here the very, very first Hatebreed shit. I think they just had a Neglect split, and they were opening Voorhees. They played it on that day here. Actually, Simon, the Ugly Pop, the friend here that I lived with, I think maybe he put it on. They stayed with us at the time, but Voorhees was a fucking killer band too.
They would. Yeah, Voorhees was good, definitely. It's funny, Under the Knife was really the only thing I ever liked from Hatebreed. I mean, I
Yeah,
think their after that was okay, but then after, I mean, under the knife was like, I don't know. That was the only thing I really liked.
I think there was Cursed especially played with like a whole decade's worth of like post Hatebreed-esque, Hatebreed-ish bands,
Mm,
and that made me realize how much I liked actual Hatebreed. At least the first like Satisfaction and that stuff was
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
damn.
Well, I'll keep going. What was the first punk hardcore show you attended?
It was an early Chokehold and a band called The Misunderstood. They were all from like the same couple of high schools. It was like a mod kind of band. Um, yeah, it was like a battle of the bands sort of style thing at this kind of fucking redneck cowboy bar, which was a thing in Hamilton, Ontario back then. Um, yeah, that was it.
All right. My next one. All-time favorite punk hardcore show you played, and I know you've been in a bunch of bands, so you could give me a few. Like, what was like your favorite show that you played? And give me like two or three that really stood out to you and meant something to you.
Well, one of the Left 4 Dead's when we finally played Chaos and Tejas, with Infest and Hoax and Magic Circle. And I really liked a lot of those guys' bands too. That whole chain of bands from like X Files through like Mind Eraser. That whole family of stuff has always done some pretty great shit. And Think I Care, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Hey, is Think I Care a fucking New England,
I think I care.
or are they Western Mass?
I mean, it's New England, so it counts.
Okay, not Drop Dead capacity, but no. When Left 4 Dead played with Infest and Hoax, I
Mm.
really loved it because it just seemed like this perfect kind of full circle. Like we loved Infest when we were Left 4 Dead. You know what I mean? Like we were all about
Yeah,
that shit then. And then things like Hoax really seemed like the same kind of just volatile hardcore. So I love that because just generationally, it just seemed like it connected all these dots. And there's been a million nights that I just can't believe like how lucky I am to be watching this. I can't even think of specific ones. Like there's so many like that. Yeah, I don't know.
what was your favorite Swarm show that you played?
Weirdly, the last show we played, well, the last weekend we played Michigan Fest, which was ridiculous. And somebody took a shit into a thermos, put the thermos in a stuffed animal, and threw the fucking stuffed animal on the stage. And it was just like a bedlam, kind of a crazy festival. It's probably on the YouTubes. And I didn't know. Luckily I didn't get the shitty part, but I just saw it and I threw it back into the middle of the pit, and it just got smashed. And shit went everywhere. So like the sweat and the heat in a hall with like 1,500 people in it,
Yeah,
and like poop proper in a thermos just smeared all over everything. That was my favorite. And then later on we came home. The home last show was Ringworm and God Below, which was a kind of a guilty pleasure and the kind of meatheady stuff. Like stuff like Integrity's never occurred to me to be a guilty pleasure because I have no guilt. It's always been great.
yeah.
From like 1990 right through. If you think about Ringworm's The Promise and Those Who Fear Tomorrow, how long ago those things were,
Yeah.
what groundwork they were laying down. But yeah, we play with Gobolo and Ringworm here at home at a club that's long gone now called the Cathedral. That was pretty fucking cool because I really like Ringworm a lot.
Yeah, definitely. What was your favorite Sect show so far that you guys played?
Damn. Fluff Fest in the Czech Republic was really cool. Um, I don't know. We play a lot of just like basements and DIY spots.
Yeah,
That very last weekend that we played last year, we played outside of Pittsburgh, and we finally played a Philly show that was, you know, when you love a place and you want it to be awesome because you've had good times there, and it just like isn't. It's
yeah,
the weirdest bummer. Curse played CB's, and it was like, it's fucking CB's. This is the toilet. It's all this, and then it was just this crazy weird, like just like bummer of a show. Like, nah, it wasn't supposed to be like this. So it can kind of turn on you when you build up the significance of something, but it's usually there was a Sect show in the Czech Republic that we played, and there's a song about it, and there's a kid there that was a friend that committed suicide, and it's kind of a long story, and it's part of a song. It's on Blood of the Beast, but his family came out, and my friends there, my friend Milan in Prague, they had his family come because his family wanted to know what he was all about and what his world was all about.
Yeah.
It's heavy. Sorry, man. My voice is a little bit gone from recording something the other night too, but it's also kind of fucked up. Uh, that was really special, and it was really emotionally. It's a lot of weight. Like if you take it as seriously as you should, like it's a lot of responsibility to talk
Yeah.
about shit about life, you know. So, whew, that's weird. Where did that come from? A lot of repressed emotion coming out. This is I don't know,
No, that's
lost somebody anyway, but dealing with their family, and the day after I got to go to their family's place and talk in this, like with a translator in between them. Just sometimes shit happens. It's just like life, and you realize like this isn't a fucking trope. This is real. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's not. You're not taking it too seriously. Like it is this fucking serious. So
Yeah.
some things like that have been heavy, but so special,
Yeah.
like that. So this particular show in there has been in the Czech Republic. That was one that I don't think a night's ever gonna be as like heavy hearted but beautiful as something like that happening. Like, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a longer story. It's a sad story, and it goes back to like Cursed and some other shit too. But yeah, somebody that listened to all these bands and sat up late at night talking about things about Left 4 Dead stuff, and someone that had like a lot of suicidal things, and we kind of shared a lot of stuff, but then ultimately actually did that. You know, you feel a lot of responsibility when you put negative things into the world,
yeah.
but things are, like we were saying earlier, they're not that I'm like walking around misanthropically trying to punch somebody in the face. And like that's being able to say the worst things that go through your head so you don't do them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Well,
the few times that things like that happen that get pretty real, that's
yeah.
the shit I really treasure, you know?
Yeah, and I appreciate you talking about that. I mean, I think it's important that you know, express like something like that. You know what I mean? I think it's important, and I think it could help people like dealing with just listening to us talk about stuff like that. I know it's very heavy and tough
Yeah.
to talk about, but I think it's very important that you said that, and I appreciate it, man. Totally.
Yeah. So when you talk about people that are just like, they think the band's just like, I just got to make a band that sounds pissed. Like you're going backwards, man.
Yeah.
There's real life, and this is the way it comes out, dealing with it. It's
Yeah.
like shit, real shit.
Yeah.
And over time, it just like something traumatic happens, like say the cursed stuff that happened, which is a whole fucking story too. But like my only way to deal with that, and that's from hardcore, is through hardcore, is to make a fucking song about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it perpetually just kind of cycles in
Yeah.
as therapy.
Exactly.
But thank you so much, man. This has been really cool.
I got a couple more questions,
Oh yeah, rapid.
and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
All-time favorite punk hardcore show you attended that you didn't play, that you went and saw a show and was blown away by it?
Holy shit. I don't even know. Sometimes, man, sometimes it's been bands that I didn't even know, and on the spot, just like something clicks so much. Like we played Ruination played one time in maybe Madison, Wisconsin, or outside in Wisconsin, like a frat house or something. Like it was a handful of hardcore kids and a bunch of just like
Yeah.
people partying. And we played with this band that I don't even remember what they were called. And they sounded like fucking Rorschach and Septic Death in a blender, and they were 15 in Wisconsin, and it was before the fucking internet, you know, to this degree of internet. So like they didn't know that. That's the kind of shit. Like I just like my jaw on the floor watching a bunch of like kids do hardcore like that.
Yeah.
That's big stuff. That one really jumps out at me. So it's not always like the shit you'd expect or some super reunion or a band you love, because at the time they were just like our friends as bands, you know.
Yeah. I talk about that all the time. I think that's the greatest feeling is when you go to a show and you see somebody that you're, you know, the headliner, and then the first, like two bands could be on the bill that you have no idea who it is, and then you
Yeah.
watch them and you're like, holy shit.
And that's the one that sticks with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what? There's
shit.
another one. Burning Love played once at that bar called Gooski's on Polish Hill in Pittsburgh. And we played with Kim Fuck. Did you ever know that band?
No, I don't think I've heard of them.
No. Just a really cool mishmash of like people. One of the guys, Corey, the guy that was in Alice Rotten.
Oh.
and our friend Ben, people that connected to bands like No Time and bands like that more recently.
Mhm.
But I don't know, it's just like a really, like in the Wipersy kind of way, it's like really powerful, cool shit. But we played this place called Gooski's. It was just like a local, and it was a bar, smoky as shit. But there was a band. It was Eddie Current Suppression Ring, who from Australia, like just a really fucking good kind of jangly band that was like really understated. Like it didn't seem like they would be that powerful, and they had these little kind of combo amps. Like their sound was really like almost garagey, punky stuff. But
Yeah.
something about this night was just so fucking perfect that them and a local, and it just like it just felt very fucking real. Went till 3 in the fucking morning in this smoky room. Things like that are the ones that really stick with me the most.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I'm a huge movie guy. I always ask this to everybody I talk to. What was the last movie you watched?
Um, that Ben Wheatley, you know, the British dude that does like kind of occulty Wicker Man kind of shit. Like it's called like, In the Ground or In the Earth. Yeah, I'm not counting this. We watched that new Guy Ritchie last night, and it was terrible.
Oh, The Wrath of Man.
Yeah,
That was bad.
Yeah, and I love not just like Snatch, and those are great, but even like Rock and Rolla. Me and my wife love Rock and Rolla a lot.
Yeah.
We saw that one last year too that he did. Maybe just before COVID shut everything down. The one with Charlie Hunnam and stuff in it.
Yeah, The Gentleman, right? Is that
yeah, and that was pretty good. Like it's always pretty snappy, but this one was like we love Jason Statham movies too. Even when they're fucking bad, they're pretty great. But it was just like really, really bad. Even for Guy Ritchie and even for him, it was So I'm not counting that. I'm going to say that this the Ben Wheatley one was the one that counted.
Okay.
You're a horror movie guy.
I am.
Cool. Me too.
Definitely. I try to watch as much as I can. I try to steer away from the low budget shitty ones though. There's been so many. You know, I don't like high budget ones, but it's just got to be good. I love independent movies and lower budget. There was a movie called The Headhunter that had a super low budget. I don't know if you've seen it.
I don't know.
But it was it's almost like on the vein of like a medieval with like a supernatural flair. It's like this Viking type dude that's trying to avenge his daughter that gets killed by this like monster or whatever. And he works for like the king, but he's like down in this village, and so they send him like these monsters to kill, and he kills them and he cuts their heads off and puts them on like a spike or whatever. But like the monster that he can't catch is the one that killed his daughter, and so movie he's trying to like get to that monster, but it's like so low budget but really well acted and stuff like that. So if you ever come across The Headhunter, give it a watch.
You know what? I saw a South African movie that blew my fucking mind like a month ago called Fried Berry.
Fried Berry.
Like berry, like the name, Barry, Fried Berry. Didn't know at all. I saw a trailer and I got it and I watched it, and it's so fun and fucked up. I thought it was Australian and then figured out halfway through, like, this is South African. You know D. Antwoord?
What was
D. Antwoord, the band?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It was like that kind of like fucking twisted and really fun and really fucking weird. It's like a dude that's sort of, I don't know if someone either gives him like super crack or else he gets abducted by aliens. It sounds so stupid, but it is, if you like, I don't know, Peter Jackson kind of weird vibes, like dirty, but filthy. I don't know. That in an Australian movie called Relic. About like
I've seen Relic.
Horror movies. Yeah, it's killer. It's like somebody with dementia and a daughter has to go help her mother. But then whenever there's things about like mental health, because I've had my own problems with that shit, but crossing over with supernatural shit, those like take shelter kind of movies go miles further than any like slashery shit in the world. They fuck with my head.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like that stuff too. I don't know if you've seen, this isn't really a horror movie, but Possessor. I always talk about Possessor. It's David Cronenberg's son, Brandon.
Yes, Brandon Cronenberg. They're local. They're from here.
Oh, no kidding. He did a movie just, I think it was last year or maybe a year and a half ago called Possessor. Have you seen that? Right.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he kind of picks up the body horror sort of stuff. It's always like some evil lab trying to like morph humanity into something crazy.
Yeah.
Cronenberg is neat like that too.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Even his first, which is weird because he took such a long time between movies. Like Antiviral was, it was almost like an 8 to 10 year gap
That
between
is,
Nesser
yeah,
and Viral. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I didn't
There
know.
was a really the art gallery here. They did a Kubrick exhibit maybe 5 years ago, and it was awesome. It was all the props from all the Kubricks, but then they did a Cronenberg and like the pod from The Fly, because that's been it was made locally, but
Yeah.
so all those props are sitting in warehouses around here. But goddamn, all the scanners shit,
Oh,
the video drone, like the TV.
yeah,
Cronenberg is a huge figure, you know. Like Canada's different for famous people. They're still just somebody like in the city. I worked at a video store here, like a cult video place, and I think the son and the wife, Cronenberg's wife, I think they were both customers
oh, no
at
kidding.
a cop there. But it's like that here.
Yeah,
But goddamn, yeah, I think that he's doing a lot of justice to his dad's
yeah,
output.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So on that horror movie thing, I have to ask, favorite all-time horror movie? You can give me a couple because most people have a few. It's hard to pin down just one.
Uh, like Let's Scare Jessica to Death is a big one for me. Also on the mental health times supernatural trip. Um, Sect was named after a giallo, like a Michele Soavi La Setta, the Sect. That's just kind of like a murder cult movie that I like a lot. Um, the Changeling, like the George C. Scott
Yeah,
Changeling, is
yeah,
always like this untouchable ideal of just like a scary idea going a lot farther than just like a jump scare.
yeah,
Which really, it's a ghost story, but like that always gets me. But oh god, there's so many. I don't know. It's tough.
yeah.
I like the
It's
classics, but I
yeah,
don't know. The last few years have really proved me wrong and thinking that all the good shit was in the 70s and then that was it. Because things like The Witch and Midsummer, like there's been some really fucking like people are figuring out the exact substance that made the old things as scary as they were. You
yeah.
know,
I re
and that Costas, the guy that did Mandy and all that, he's Canadian too. That shit's been amazing, like kind of psychedelic, you
yeah.
know, existential horror.
I think Hereditary was great by Ari Aster too. Like that
Yeah,
that that blew me away. Like when I
yeah,
first saw that, like you were saying, I'm like, all right, horror movies are starting to get like they know what they're doing now. Some
yeah,
people do it, you
yeah.
know.
No, but there's inside of all that, there's some people really doing the good shit. I think Ben Wheatley is one too, the British guy. He does a lot of like Wicker Man, sort of like occulty but earthy kind of horror. That's pretty like bare bones, but really good ideas. You
Yeah,
know?
I think the last movie that wasn't really a horror movie, I guess you could put it in that vein, was I saw a movie called Scare Me. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's
No.
Aya Cash from I don't know if you've seen The Boys on Amazon Prime, the
Yeah.
superhero. She was Stormfront in that.
Oh, okay.
She's in
God,
it.
that's crazy how they used the actual Stormfront as a character, and then it actually meant that.
Yeah, I know.
Like that. I mean, that's the first thing I thought when that started. I'm like, did they know what Stormfront is? That's like a neo-Nazi website, and then it comes around like, wow, you meant to do that. That's really neat.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was in it, and it's basically like a well-known writer that writes this great horror movie book. Wins all these awards, and she kind of goes away in a cabin to try and work on things. And she meets this other guy that's kind of like a writer, but like he's not really a good writer. And the lights end up going out, and they come together and start. She basically is like, let's scare each other. You know what I mean? Let's tell each other scary stories. So they start telling each other scary stories, and then at the end of the movie, it kind of ramps up into this like tension like thing.
Shit.
So
What's
it's
this
kind
called?
of it's
What's
called
the name?
Scare Me.
I'm gonna write this down.
It's
And
very
what
it's
was
very
that? Sorry,
it's
what
very
was that one a minute ago? What was the
uh,
Viking band? The
oh
heads up.
a headhunter.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
And I can send you the trailers for it like on
I
through
can
the
find them. That's all good. Dude,
uh,
thank you. That's cool. I need some good suggestions for things to watch while so helplessly stuck at home for another week or two until they renew the lockdown for
yeah.
another.
So I like I said, I'm a big hip hop guy. If you've been listening to hip hop at all, what have you been?
Yeah. The Constant is cool, Keith. I like freaky weirdo beatnik dudes like that.
Yeah,
MF Doom was really sad when MF Doom died because he was my favorite for a long time with stuff like that.
yeah,
But Cool Keith has been that follow up to Dr. Octagon from last year or 2 years ago or 3 or 10 was awesome. I love that. His stuff isn't always good. He's like his newer shit can be kind of bad. His voice kind of changed a little bit, but that Moose Bumps was fucking nuts. I really liked. Oh my god, I'm so blanking, man. My god, what's wrong? I mean, the Kendrick Lamar shit in the last couple of years. I know that's like the biggie that's so like obvious, but that shit I think has so much substance and like
Yeah.
it's. I think some shit's happening that's more punk than what's happening in the world of punk in hip hop.
Yeah, definitely.
Like This Is America and things like that are like what could be better for the moment than somebody that saying that well, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But Jesus Christ, I am completely blanking.
I mean, I always put the comparison of hardcore and underground hip hop just being revolutionary and similar. You know, a lot of people butt heads, and they, you know, some people say, I don't listen to hip hop at all, I just listen to hardcore, or vice versa. You see a lot of hip hop fans that don't listen to hardcore at all. They think it's, you know, it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like the similarity is underlying, and it's definitely there. I mean, it's revolutionary music, and they speak of, you know, it's very similar in the culture too, of just, you know, speaking about political issues, if it is, or you know, anything that's wrong in the world. I think those two genres of music are really the ones that are speaking about the problems in the world. You know what I mean?
And coming from the people that have to bear the brunt of the fucking problems too, you know? It's easy for us to talk about what's wrong with life. We're not the ones that are the first ones to get fucking shot at by a cop.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Oh, Freddie Gibbs. Sorry.
Oh, Freddie Gibbs, so good.
Dude, the one, not Alfredo, but the one before it.
Oh, the one with Mad Lib?
Yeah. And I know people have different opinions about Mad Lib's production. I'm a sucker for all that kind of throwback retro stuff, which is a lot of what I like about Ghostface. Has shit like that that's great.
Yeah.
Like Fish Scale and More Fish are like have a lot of that. I don't know, retro fun vibe to them all. Yeah. But that Mad Lib shit, that was perfect. That one.
Yeah.
The one before Alfredo. I have it on LP now. What the fuck is wrong with me? What has happened in the last year or two that I can't call to mind factoids like that?
Did you listen to People Under the Stairs from San Francisco? Did you listen to, or I think they were from, they might have been from San Francisco. I know they're from California. Double K had just passed away a little while ago too. And those guys are really, really good. They've been around for a long, long time. And they kind of, you know, that West Coast, like, good feeling hip hop. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but people
I come across that name a lot. No, I don't. It sounds like the fun, like in the early 90s fun way. I mean,
yeah.
Tribe kind of way.
Yeah, it's really, and the beats are so good. And basically it's like two guys doing, like Double K would do all the music, and the other rapper would, it was just like a two-man thing. They didn't have a DJ when they played live. It was just those guys, and they were running their own beat machine, and it's really, really great music though. I'll send you a link so you can like hear it.
Cool. I'm a sucker for shit like Ghetto Boys too, which like is some part of my brain that likes the same part that would listen to like Gigi Allen with like just like so over the top obnoxious that and misanthropic.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't even sell that. Like any artist that's just like shooting their own thing in the foot while they're doing it, like just makes something unthinkable, unspeakable.
Yeah. R.I.P. to Bushwick Bill. He passed away a while ago too.
Yeah, that was one thing Left for Dead. Our drummer Curtis, I know he never. There's a lot of people that didn't get very far out of like they don't leave where they're from very much.
Yeah.
And he was that Chaos and Tejas. I remember he hardly travels or goes away from around Ontario much. And he somehow came back and he had a picture. He was so fucking stoked because he was walking down the goddamn street and it was Bushwick Bill sitting there. He took a picture with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like high point of him leaving the ecosystem of Hamilton, Ontario. But yeah.
I got to see the Ghetto Boys in Boston for the first time. They'd never played Boston until maybe 8 years ago. That was the very first time that, as long as they've been around, they had never played Boston. And
wow.
I got to see, Willie D, Scarface, and Bushwick Bill all together playing in Boston.
Dude, the Resurrection even, I know it sounds goofy, it's later, but that's even pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Dark.
Now, have you heard of the Griselda guys like West Side Gun and Conway and Benny the Butcher? They're kind of like a throwback.
Oh, Benny the Butcher's Buffalo. That's near.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Conway and West Side Gun kind of got Benny going, and
Okay. I know him. I don't know the rest of them.
they're kind of doing stuff like in that vein of like old Ghetto Boy stuff, maybe new, like Wu Tang, like a newer Wu Tang ish type of hip hop too that they're doing right now.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had heard of them.
No, but I like that. I like that era of shit.
Yeah, definitely. And my last question, like I said, I don't want to keep you up. I know Sunday is like a family thing. Now, I had to ask you.
We go to church at night. We don't. It's okay.
What was your favorite song to play live? You know, I know, like I said, you in so many bands. Maybe give me your favorite song to play live for Left 4 Dead.
Skin Graft is a pretty fun one.
Oh, love that.
Oh, you know what? It's 8 Floors Above for Left 4 Dead for me. Yeah, that's the one that gets me going.
Now, what's your favorite song to play live when you were in the Swarm?
Probably the 13-second long one. The 13-second with the anthem.
Yeah, nice.
After the last show, actually the one with Ringworm here in Toronto, I think we just played that and played it again a minute later. Like, and someone's like, again, I think we played it like 3 times in a row. Just like, sure.
Yeah.
Why not go again? Yeah.
Your favorite song to play live when you were in Cursed?
Shit. I don't know. That one's, 1974. They're all, some of them are just like when I feel like I need to get something off my fucking chest the right way. And when I finally feel like I did that right.
Yeah.
Whether or not anybody else ever notices or cares or gets it or likes it, like I feel good about it. That one, probably 1974. And there was a song called Old Money that we somehow couldn't fucking figure out how to play. Like we somehow recorded it and then we couldn't play it, but we played it like once and I loved that.
Yeah.
But probably 1974.
Yeah, 1974 might be my all-time favorite song. I know me and Ron talk about Reparation. I love that song too.
Yeah,
that's really close to my heart as well. And my final question is, what was your favorite song to play with Sect?
those ones on Blood of the Beasts, like the one we were talking about. That one, it's not as fun. God, the song that we always play last actually kind of relates to the story with Cursed. So that Sinking, it's called.
Yeah.
I guess because it connects with, it always feels good when things connect with the people around you. It's the one people are kind of waiting for. There's always one like that, but it doesn't always, that's them. But sometimes it's just like you. Yeah. It's a selfish endeavor, It's like therapy. Like, you might not know it, but there was a song called Unnecessary Person with Curse too that I've never heard a thing about. But like for me, I'm like, I nailed what I thought I needed to get out.
Yeah.
So I could move on and let it go in my head. So that one. But yeah, probably Sinking for Sect.
Yeah. Now, do you think that there'll be more basement shows now because like the smaller venues have started drying up because of COVID and a lot of people, I see like burger places closing up around here because they can't get the help. All the people that are getting unemployment and the COVID relief, nobody wants to work now. So a bunch of smaller venues around Boston and around this area have been closed and they're not coming back. I think when things get back to normal, there'll be more basement shows because the smaller clubs there won't be smaller clubs around or not as many. And all the genres of music, not just hardcore and hip hop, and I'm talking indie rock and are all
the actual infrastructure that's for everything. Right?
Trying to get into just those places, like it's be like a battle to get into those places to play. So well, if you think about it like that, then the fact that we even on a normal weekend we'd be playing in a basement with 20 people, if you're happy enough with that, which we all definitely are, we got a better shot, at the rest of the world. If we're happy, all we need is a basement with 20 people in it anyway. Yeah.
But I don't know. It takes like a whole infrastructure to be functional to make that happen. Like the world has to be in motion, not just like a door has to be unlocked in a venue. Like it has to make sense from a lot of different angles to be tenable. Like us, like money wise, it's like we don't care. We're not in it for that at this point. And just the cost of doing it, like when you have to fly to play in a basement, you know what I mean? That really is it. So you would only be doing it because you want to and you love it.
Yeah.
But hopefully adversity like this always makes interesting shit happen in art. So hopefully good hardcore happens now because of that. And the fact that DIY spots like can be done when other shit can't. Yeah. I hope.
Yeah, so I mean, when things get back to normal again, I have a great basement in New Hampshire. I
love
own
basements
on a cul-de-sac. Nice, quiet. My neighbors are really cool. So
I love it.
thinking of before I haven't furnished downstairs yet, so we're thinking about that. But I wanna put a few shows on in New Hampshire before I do that. So I used to set up shows all the time in a place in Haverhill, Massachusetts. I did a bunch of shows back then, and like I said, I would play in bands, so I would love to do basement shows. So if you ever want to hit up New Hampshire and play basement, I can do it for you.
Okay, noted. Thank you, man.
I want to like I said, I appreciate everything you did for me tonight, talking with me. You know, it just means a ton.
Thank you. To me too.
And let's stay in touch. Anything you ever need from me, just hit me up. You know, I'll do the same. I'll bother you here and there. So.
Okay, I might need a spare vertebrae. How's your lower vertebrae?
I don't know. I'm going on the 50 mark, so it's touchy.
So you're holding up good, man. This is good. You still got the fire. That's a good sign. Yeah.
Well, Chris, I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you once again for doing this.
Of course. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm sorry if I didn't get back to everything down here because I cannot possibly do it. But yeah, it means a lot to talk to you. And Ron earlier today too. So everybody out there, hold on to your fucking hats because something will come back and we'll fucking make it work, whatever the hell it is, you know?
Yeah.
Might not look like what we think or what we're used to, but we'll fucking roll on somehow.
Definitely. All right. All right, I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Yeah. Take care. See you soon, man. Bye.